High steps into the end zone. Baylor capitalizes on the muff punt, and they strike first.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
In the corner, touchdown. It's Richardson, Oklahoma State.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Pistol on 2nd and 2. Yates pressured by Foskey. Good interception. That one's going to count, and that's a Jack Kaiser Notre Dame touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Bazelak in trouble, lofts it up to the end zone. They got it, touchdown. Tight end, Daniel Parker. And this one is in the books. Missouri wins it by 1.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. Monday. It's a condensed week with Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday, obviously. And then the holiday weekend as well. The chat room is already alive and well. Some are wanting to know where are those who said Oregon would boat race Utah in one thing. But there's much more to get to. Oklahoma State with major implications for the Big 12 championship game. Baylor is a win away from possibly getting a chance to play Oklahoma State if the Cowboys beat OU. And Baylor had a huge road win up in Manhattan against Kansas State in what was a beat-down physical street fight, which I thought it was going to be. And we'll hear a little bit from Dave Aranda. One quick update. Paul Catalina to my left, Craig Smoak to my right. Armstrong, Sims, and Jack McKenzie today running the mothership. Dave Aranda today saying that Gary Bohannon will continue to get treatment. Was all throughout the day yesterday talking to him and said that he wants to come back to play on Saturday against Texas Tech. He goes, if I were to bet, I'd bet on Gary. That also could be coach speak, and that also could be Gary wants to play, and so we'll see what happens there. But how about Blake Shapen? Comes in and was as locked in as you could possibly be, and really, really a great story along with the win against Kansas State on the road.
Yeah, if I were to bet, I would bet on a hamstring. Those are tough injuries to heal, and it did not look good. You know, I think you heard what the field mic picked up when he hurt himself. Yeah. So I know he's working hard to get back. I think just erring on the side of caution and really focusing on trying to get him back for the Big 12 championship game would be key, especially since Blake Shapen showed himself to be, pretty comfortable doing what he was doing. And I think you can probably beat Texas Tech with Blake Shapen.
I don't think there's any probably about it. I know they can beat Texas Tech with Blake Shapen. They're a better football team than Texas Tech is, and Blake Shapen showed enough for me on Saturday to show that he can move this offense and operate it. And look, now Tech has film on him, and so they're going to be able to kind of design some things based on what they saw, which is not anything that's been available up until Saturday. But you know what? He's also going to have more experience under his belt. And I think Jeff Grimes did a tremendous job of just letting him rip from the get-go. He came in, what was like the first or second play, he threw a deep ball. Didn't connect, but it was like, all right, we're not going to slow down just because Gary Bohannon's not in the game anymore. And they gave him some short passes following that to where he gained his confidence. You look at his final numbers, he had 4 incompletions on the day. It's because they got him comfortable and then let him rip. And then he was also able to use his feet, and that was a killer for the K-State defense. They did not have an answer for that. And I feel like if Gary Bohannon had stayed in that game, they weren't going to have an answer for him either. I think they were going to score right before the half, probably a touchdown. They kicked the field goal regardless, but I think they might have punched it in there and then kind of been off to the races given the way that game was starting to lean. But that was not the case because he got hurt, and I thought Shapen, for what he was asked to do, managed well, made just enough plays with his arm and his legs, and had the full confidence of the team behind him. So that was a game that got dicey with that injury. That was a close game at that time, and K-State was playing really well. So kudos to Dave Aranda and Sean Bell and Jeff Grimes and all those guys that had to get those guys ready to not only beat a really tough K-State team, but then to face that adversity and overcome that and not really skip a beat in doing so. It's like they didn't really fall off in any way. I thought that was mightily impressive.
Well, you got to give Blake Shapen most of the credit, though. He was put in position, but he was ready. I always say, are you ready when your time is called? Are you ready? Are you locked in? He looked very comfortable. He's got a little swagger to him, and it was a nice win for Baylor. I thought it would be a street fight. I thought it would be like 26-24, 20-10. It could have gone the other way when Deuce Vaughn raced 60-whatever yards or whatever it was for the touchdown. It was game on from that point on, but it was really that way. But Baylor was in total control early, but the penalty on a punt, lining up offsides, which was a critical penalty. A couple of things.
Yeah, the penalty directly led to the Deuce Vaughn touchdown run. That was the very next play, and outside of that, they really didn't do anything offensively. K-State didn't.
Daniel Acton sent us this text. If you take away the 65-yard touchdown run and the 49-yard pass or the 48-yard pass, I guess that was to Knowles, right?
Yeah. It was his only catch of the day.
Yeah, late in the game. 150 total yards on 49 plays, so about 3 yards a play they were giving up outside those other two. So, again,
but those count.
The count. No, but let me get to the end of my point was Baylor's really weakness on defense is the big play.
Yeah.
If they can not give up the big play, you don't give up if those plays are 25 and 18, then the game's not even as close as it was.
Put it this way,
so, yeah.
You can't take away 2 plays from Baylor and go, they only scored 100. They only had 150 yards. K-State literally had 90% of their yards on 2 plays. Yeah. I mean, that's what he's trying to say. Baylor had multiple plays of 10 yards or more. So yeah, they gave up 2 explosives the entire day, which is below average for them. They usually give up 3 or 4, it seems like, at least in games, or they give up 1 and then it leads to something, whereas outside of the Vaughn run, that Knowles catch didn't amount to anything because I believe that was
missed the field
goal on that drive, which was a big Gabe Hall drive. But yeah, the defense I thought played really well outside of those 2 plays. And, shut down the run game, got into Thompson's face over and over again to the point where he eventually was knocked out of the game as well. So we had both backup quarterbacks in there by the end of it. So, yeah, it was a nasty physical fight.
All right, for the Big 12, so here's what it comes down to. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma. Oklahoma State is in the Big 12 championship game. If Oklahoma wins, they're in. If Oklahoma State wins and Baylor beats Texas Tech, then Oklahoma State will play Baylor in the Big 12 championship game up in Arlington. Also, it appears to be all but imminent. And I did receive a text from somebody that would kind of be in the know. It has been quiet when it comes to TCU and their head coaching search. It appears to be all but imminent with Sonny Dykes. And SMU, after the loss, and Cincinnati just drilled them. They're 1 more game left in the regular season. They won't be in that American Conference Championship game, but that seems to be all but imminent with Sonny Dykes. And then, of course, that opens up SMU. And Florida now joins the fray of coaching jobs open after their pathetic performance over the weekend. Dan Mullen, but now the number for coaches who have been fired this year. The buyout number, according to Ross Dellinger, is over $80 million. $12 million for Mullen. Orgeron had the highest at $17 million, and that just continues to just climb the ladder.
The fact that Ed Orgeron had a $17 million buyout is just insane.
Well, plus, I know
it's more than like just for him to leave, but at the same time, like I would never have been too worried about an Ed Orgeron buyout figure. But yeah, I realize that's also his contract. Well, I'm not a big believer.
Here's the thing about that one in particular. Ed Orgeron was made to be the head coach at LSU for however long he was. Like at one point in his life, you knew that was probably going to be what he was. It was his goal his whole life. So when he was the head coach at LSU, giving him that kind of buyout is crazy because where was he going to go?
Exactly right.
Like the guy bleeds gumbo.
Exactly right.
Like he was not going anywhere.
Oh God, USC is going to come. Oh no, wait, we've been there, done that. We've already done that. So there's one team you don't have to worry about. What's going to go to Bama? Oh wait, they're Phil. I mean, where's he going? Where is he possibly going?
Yeah. So on Dan Mullen, I don't know if I've ever seen what I saw from a coach that's as embattled as Dan Mullen on Saturday night, where they had a chance to win the game at the end, and he played for overtime, knowing maybe he knew he already was going to get fired, but he showed no like if it was, I know there's nails in my coffin, let me give you the hammer. That was it right there. And then Missouri made him look even worse in overtime, they played to win the game right away. And so it just amplified the situation of where Dan Mullen was mentally with that job. And I think Dan Mullen's probably going to go to the NFL and be a coordinator and then be a head coach. And I think he'll probably be a good NFL coordinator and coach. I think he's a good football mind. I think college football he was over all the recruiting and everything else. And that's not what needs to happen at Florida. They need sustained success and consistency and somebody who's going to be, into recruiting. And when your biggest rival is up there stealing literally every great player you get, the bell's going to toll.
Well, that number's out. Edgar Thompson, who covers Florida, will join us tomorrow. Obviously, today, players and coaching staff, among others, plus he's digging around for the rest of that story as well. Also today, we have a schedule that's going to highlight a handful of other college football teams. 254-339-1122 is the number. If you'd like to join the show, 254-339-1122. That's the text line as well. Ricky Thompson, Baylor sideline reporter. I sent him a text late, I guess it might have been late Saturday, about you've been on the sideline for a lot of games. Physical is physical. Well, how would you put that one in perspective? We'll have him today at 3:45. We'll focus in on Notre Dame, Utah. Just bludgeoned Oregon. And also Robert Allen, sideline reporter for Oklahoma State, joins us today at 5:30. We'll have all of that today, plus David Hellman on the Cowboys losing in Kansas City 19-9. So we've given you the update on Gary Bohannon going through treatment. Who knows how that goes between now and Saturday. If it's Blake Shapen, then Baylor's got to feel really comfortable with that. Ohio State. Holy my God. I've been one of those, and I maybe understood what might eventually happen with them just kind of getting into that groove that they've done before. But I'm also, don't do the ratings based on what you think is going to happen. Do the ratings based on evidence. Well, the evidence is here. Ohio State, I don't care where they are, they must be among the top four. But with that, you think Cincinnati had a pretty good weekend?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, Notre Dame...
I think they both had good weekends. I don't think it had to be,
No, but I'm talking about Cincinnati with Ohio State winning. That knocks out Michigan State. Oregon getting drummed. That knocks them out of the picture. Cincinnati's sitting pretty good. We'll figure it out, though.
Yeah, I mean, they're still not a sure thing by any means, but what needed to happen for them happened, at least as far as this weekend goes. And I'm sure the committee was shuddering at some of those results. But at the same time, happy to see Ohio State lay the smack down like they did. Ohio State, I was saying it on Saturday, I mean, there's one game I really want to see, and it's Georgia and Ohio State. That's the one game, and we're going to see Alabama, Georgia. I mean, we're going to see that. So in the SEC championship game, so we'll get that. But yeah, the next one I want to see is definitely the Buckeyes and the Bulldogs. I mean, the Buckeyes with so much talent offensively, the receiving core alone is absolutely filthy with 3 number 1 guys on one roster. It's just unfair. And then you realize that Bama's arguably best receiver is an Ohio State transfer. Like, they were going to have Williams along with Olave and Smith and Jigba and Garrett Wilson, but he transfers, so now he's just balling out at Alabama. It's just kind of crazy. But, C.J. Stroud's playing really well right now. He's 1 of 2 for the Heisman Trophy. It's him and Bryce Young, it looks like. So another Alabama-Ohio State tie-in there. And they were impressive. I mean, they were awfully impressive, and they definitely put an exclamation point on the weekend. You might as well go ahead and start to get the Sharpies ready, because it's hard to imagine who's going to knock off the Buckeyes and derail them getting to the playoff. But who knows? I mean, we got the Big Ten championship game, got Michigan, got a lot going on. So, after this weekend, you feel good about them, but still some work to be done. But plenty of belief that they'll be able to get that work done.
I'm almost in a way paraphrased, if that's the right word to use, on what is on the text line or the chat room today about Oregon and Utah and about Oklahoma State. My God, their defense just suffocated Texas Tech, and just they're just really good, and Baylor knows that, and so does everybody else who's played them, other than Iowa State. And Iowa State, right now, they're 6-5 after the loss to Oklahoma. It wasn't easy, but they're 6-5.
Who cares? They're having fun. They're making friends. They're going to class. Who cares about championships? Like Matt Campbell said. I mean, who cares? It's just all about growing and maturing and becoming young men. Look, you can do that and win. And I know I saw plenty of Iowa State fans over the weekend that were in agreement with Matt Campbell's comments. And if you really look at him, you can see what he's saying. But they also seem really dumb when you take into account the setting. And it seems really dumb when you look at the result this weekend, where they had a golden opportunity against Oklahoma, couldn't close it out, had every chance to, and Brock Purdy throws an awful high throw that gets picked off to end that game. But you got Purdy, you got McDonald, you got Breece Hall. I mean, I can go down the list and keep going. Eisworth, Rose. You cannot tell me for one single second that you did not have championships on your mind if you're Matt Campbell. And if you are seriously telling me that winning a championship wasn't a goal with Eisworth and Rose and Purdy and Hall and McDonald and all these guys, then I would be screaming internally as an Iowa State fan over, I would love Matt Campbell as my coach because he does a good job. But 5 losses this year, that to me would be absolutely unacceptable.
Well, and this isn't like a rebuild.
No.
This isn't like when you first arrived there and you're trying to build.
This is what they've been building too,
or a process or whatever. This is their 3rd consecutive year they've had what you thought a team that could be there. And of course, 2 years ago Baylor interrupted that. Then last year they got to the game but lost to Oklahoma.
Never again in college football history will a team have as many seniors and veterans, and that's any team, as they do this year.
And I'm
Iowa
talking
State
about super-duper seniors, right?
Iowa State was the absolute golden example of seniors, super seniors, people that came back ready to make a run. And they, like, every time they were challenged, they fell. And
then got excused for it by their own head coach in some way.
So, and look, one of the things I thought about when he said those things, like a championship's like, you're really not trying to get that USC or LSU job,
no
are
kidding,
you? Are you, Matt? I mean, you right? I kind of believe you.
It's blood and guts on those.
I kind of believe
you're here to win.
Oh, yeah. Say that in a press conference in Baton Rouge and see what the reaction is after you lose your 4th SEC West game to like Alabama or Ole Miss or something like that, and see if the media's goals might have been SEC championships, but our goal, I mean, how stupid would that have been?
LSU, the thing is, he's going to have this. This etouffee is really cold. Yeah, and it's going to be until you want to win a championship.
Yeah. All right, some other text line. Our web, anyone questioning Oklahoma State's defense is a certified idiot. I don't think anyone's doing that.
I mean, they are freaking nasty. That offense still needs some work. It's still far too up and down. They can get good things going at times with Jaylen Warren, and those young receivers are good, but, I mean, it's all about that defense. And if you can ever find them on a day, and no one has so far, if you can ever find them on a day when they're a little bit off or somebody's good enough to challenge them a little bit, then you can take advantage of the fact their offense is up and down. But nobody's been able to come close to doing that because that defense is just too good. It's just too good.
Also, happy Thanksgiving from Show Memo. Short week. We play Arkansas. Then he got into wrestling and Lady Tigers for Missouri. Thanks for that. Aaron, negative coach Uncle JoJo stealing all of Texas recruits. Book it.
Who?
Negative coach Uncle JoJo stealing all Texas. Aaron
Negative
Wilson.
coach, Uncle JoJo stealing all Texas recruits.
Okay, I'm not sure if he's talking about Joey McGuire.
I think that's Uncle JoJo, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Also from Ryan Simmons, assuming Georgia and Ohio State went out, who gets the last 2 playoff spots between 13-0 Cincinnati, 11-2 Oregon? Oregon's done.
They better be done.
They're done. 11-2 Baylor. I don't think they have a chance. 11-2 Bama. Well, we know what that means. 11-1 Notre Dame and 5 teams. So, we're bad about sometimes doing that. What if everyone wins out? Well, not everybody will. Alabama plays Georgia, but that's what you mentioned, and Ryan was mentioned 11-2. Right now, my 4 teams in no particular order are Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and Cincinnati.
I'll tell you mine in order would be Georgia, Ohio State, Cincinnati, and Alabama. But we'll see. I mean, if Auburn can win in the Iron Bowl this week and take Alabama out of the thing, then you got to talk about Notre Dame, or if Michigan can. I cannot fathom Michigan winning that game unless everything has to go their way. In Michigan, they have to get every single 50-50 ball, every single call has to go their way. Ohio State has to all of a sudden forget how to play offense for at least a quarter. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, and I want to go back to Iowa State first. I didn't mention Charlie Kolar. You can throw him in there too. So there's
hell
a
of a tight
sixth
end, yeah.
super senior that they have, but who cares? I mean, Georgia and Ohio State are obvious. Alabama is obvious right now, but they're going to have to play Georgia in the SEC championship game, and I wonder how much they're going to get penalized for that, depending on how that game goes. Like, are they locked in going into that final weekend, no matter what, as long as they don't get blown out?
Yeah,
I sure hope not, but that's kind of the way it looks like it's setting up. I think Cincinnati has to be in the top 4. I understand all the talk about their schedule, but they are 11-0. I do think that the playoff committee is going to start to suddenly not be so favorable about SMU, and probably not give them the boost they would have gotten. We thought probably 3 weeks ago had they beaten SMU, because SMU suffered a couple of losses now at this point, and they look like they're about to get off the tracks entirely because of this Dykes stuff.
Yeah,
so
you wonder if they're running out of gas.
It has to be playing a role,
now,
given the way they played here lately.
Yeah, and Houston and Cincinnati, that ought to be fun. Houston's won 10 games. And they look good doing it. But that again, is down the road. That's not this weekend. But next, from Aaron Wilson, Craig Smoak is a no-nonsense, hold and accountable, no-excuse kind of reporter. The next person said Craig's a killer. And the next one goes, Craig, ouch. I think that was about Texas Tech and Shapen playing at quarterback. So,
well, I do. I believe in Shapen. I think he can beat Texas Tech. I mean, if you look at Saturday, I know they're not going to let it be easy for him by any means, but I'll take K-State's defense over Texas Tech's. Now, I know that Texas Tech has, some insider info going on with Joey McGuire and James Blanchard and whoever else is involved in that. But I still think that with what Jeff Grimes can do, the running game that they have, Blake Shapen can go in there, use his feet, use his arm, and pick up yardage, and I think the defense can do their job against whoever's playing quarterback for the Red Raiders. So, yeah, I like Baylor going into this game.
Yeah. One of the notes about the college football playoff about what we were talking about, and Mike S. brought this up, if Alabama gets in, Georgia's won, barring a loss to Alabama. But if Alabama somehow gets in the 4, there is no way that there'll be 4.
Well, that would mean, I guess, they would
play again.
Yeah, I mean, they'd win over Georgia. If
I'm talking about if Alabama loses to Georgia and they somehow still get in the 4. You saying that's possible, right?
Yeah.
If it's a close game, yeah.
But if they get in, there's no way, no matter what anyone else is doing around them, would they put Alabama at 4 and have to play Georgia again, is what I'm saying.
And look, Georgia's assured of the playoff now, unless they have some sort of spectacular crumbling against Georgia Tech, who
Georgia Tech sucks.
They're going to have to.
If they suck, they're not going to have any chance.
Yeah,
no.
They're going to have some kind of angels in the outfield situation to win that game. So no, I mean, they're like Georgia's in the playoff.
All right,
mark it down.
UT San Antonio with a dramatic win on a tip pass in the end zone to a tight end. Jeff Traylor and company just keep rolling along and clinch a spot in their championship game as well. Let's see here. There's a couple of people who are already getting under everyone's skin. And you have the block button if you want, even with us, I guess you could say that as well. All right, so here's Dave Aranda. Armstrong, do you have this? This is following the game against...
You kind of glossed over that UTSA win. That was a pretty massive win for them and pretty dramatic. That was probably the most dramatic victory of the entire weekend, I think.
I brought it up for a reason.
No, I'm just saying... Yeah. I thought it'd be a little bit more oomph to it because that was a massive win on 4th down, dropping the snap, scrambling to find a guy open. The reaction of the San Antonio crowd.
I'll tell you what impressed me the most.
I thought it was pretty cool.
I thought what was the play. Did you see how many people were there?
Yeah.
That place is freaking packed like sardines. That has happened in a year under Jeff Traylor. That place is bought into UT San Antonio and also Jeff Traylor. When that pass was completed, just the audio part of it from a reporter who's sitting there in the press box, it was pop. I mean, it was explosive.
There's a ton of sports fans there, and they only really had one outlet for a long time. So.
Well, and that
outlet's not very good right now.
And that was a choke job by UAB as well. I mean, they had the lead. There's like 2 minutes left, and I'm following along. I'm like, there's no way UTSA is going to have another chance. And sure enough, not only did they get another chance, but they took advantage of it. That was a brutal loss, but an incredible victory. I mean, that's a signature win for Jeff Traylor. Not the opponent per se, but just the fashion in which it happened and where it happened and how it happened and all of that. And here they are, and they're unbeaten, and they still have some tests to go as well. And they're not going to come anywhere close to sniffing the playoff, but boy, you start talking about the next wave of coaches, and I know he was a part of that Texas Tech search for all of half a second, but he's going to be that name that you hear more and more and more for all these jobs, especially in the state of Texas and the South that open up here over the next couple of years. He's definitely going to be high on that list.
All right, let's go to this is Dave Aranda. This is kind of a little bit of emotion. This is after the win against Kansas State, which they needed to prove they could go on the road and beat somebody pretty good. They hadn't done that in a couple of years. Here's Dave Aranda on the win following on his team after the win against Kansas State.
This has been an obstacle that we had not been able to break through. I thought, going back to spring and fall camp and going back to our season, doing big things in the light with external motivation, with what friends and family are saying, maybe what the media is saying, using those things to motivate you. Maybe logos on helmets of opposing teams, using those things to motivate you. I think that is something that is a natural thing and is probably a human being thing, and it's something that for us to be the team we can be and the team we need to be, we have to overcome that and rise above that, and it has been a big fight.
So that's Dave Aranda, and all you hear all the things he was talking about, whether they're facing a logo or facing this and that, and that's kind of been his mantra or his, his message and mission statement for the team most of the year.
I'm going to tell you right now, and I hope nobody from LSU or USC that has to say anything is watching, but I'm hiring Dave Aranda in 2 seconds if I'm those schools. I mean, straight up. I know he doesn't have a ton of experience, but the dude gets it. He's so thorough, it's scary. And every single area that they've at one point in time shown weakness in, instead of being a coach of like, oh, we're winning games now, so we're on the right track, it's always about improving, always about getting better. And the culmination of that was this weekend because they have not been able to play well on the road, and they've still gone out there, made tweaks, made changes, still don't play well on the road. All right, let's rebound, let's revisit it. Okay, we're going back on the road. Still don't play well on the road. And so now you walk into the situation this weekend, it's senior day, it's Skylar Thompson's last game. K-State's playing really well. The schedule's started to turn in their favor. They're in a winning streak, and you lose your starting quarterback, and right before halftime in a close game, and they still, just pounded it out and gritted it out and got it done. And I just think as long as he's around Waco, this program's going nothing but up. Look, they're in line to win 10 games in the regular season this Saturday. 10 games in the regular season. That's incredible to me. Not that it's not been done. It's incredible that, we talked about all of 2 wins against the Kansas schools last year, the entire year. And here we're talking about the opportunity for 10, maybe 11, maybe 12 if they can get into the Big 12 championship game and then obviously a bowl game. But I think he's just scratching the surface of how great a head coach he's going to be. And Baylor's very lucky to have him, and I hope they can keep him because I like covering him, but I totally understand the big programs that are going to want to be interested as well.
And, again, that continues to be swirling out there. In fact, just had a text about our chat about it, top sources, according to whoever, discussing that he's the number one candidate. He should be, at least in some places, at least somebody that people, especially those who know him like LSU or with the location of Southern Cal. I know Baylor fans are just I'm kind of on pins and needles again about it. You just let it play out, I have a feeling, and I've said this before, that this coach, Dave Aranda, is here for more than just a quick little exit. I think that he realizes he's building this in Texas at Baylor, which is very unique, but we'll see, because LSU and USC and others like that have big names. Florida, that's not a match, but you'd be stupid at least not to check with his agent to see what interest there might be. We got a break. We'll come back with more. 254-339-1122. The line open. Phone line's open right now for you. And then Ricky Thompson on Baylor and their win with Texas Tech coming up Saturday. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now. Richard Carr, of course, the inventory, well, that's been a problem for car dealerships all over the country. Lack of chips has led to a lack of new cars all across not only the states, but across the world in many cases as well. So these supply chain challenges are getting ironed out, and they're getting a little bit better. And General Motors wants you to know that, yes, production is slow right now, but cars and trucks are on their way. So right now is the time to contact Richard Carr and get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they are being shipped. You can drive a new car or truck sooner by getting on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list and get your car or truck first as they arrive. If you're looking for a pickup, you can get a Sierra from Richard Carr. It's got an ideal combination of power, strength, refinement, and luxury. Sierra is the best truck on the road. If you're looking for a roomy SUV, there's the lineup of Buicks, each offering size and versatility to match your lifestyle, or maybe you want a combination of sophistication and power. Well, that means you're eyeing a new Cadillac XT6 or Escalade. So cars and trucks are coming. Those are just some of the offerings. Get your name on that inbound vehicle list today at Richard Carr by calling or contacting them online with what you want, and they will get right on that. If you're looking to save and drive today, they're also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks that have all gone through a 172-point inspection, and 100% credit approval is always the goal. So check out Richard Carr here in the greater Waco area. They are your local hometown dealership, so give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. Richard Carr, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Black Friday. It gets all the attention, but what about Truck Friday? Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and we say enough is enough. Cologne for Christmas? What, do you want to smell nice when you hit a deer? I'll take a grill guard for $100 off instead. If your wife is thinking about getting you some slippers for Christmas because your feet look cute with bunny ears, you better put the brakes on that and send her to Pickup Outfitters. We got a truckload of specials for Truck Friday. Free installation on all bed covers purchased at Pickup Outfitters. Hard folding bed covers as low as $8.99. $300 off ranch hand front bumpers. $150 off ranch hand rear bumpers. $100 off any ranch hand or Frontier grill guard. $50 off any toolbox. $100 off RKI heavy duty toolboxes. A complete list of specials is in our showroom. Truck Friday is 8 days only from Friday, November 26th through Saturday, December 4th. Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. On the web at createacommotion.com/Truck Friday.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the BetUS hotline, 254-339-1122.
Had some more evidence over the weekend and more this weekend. It's a short, condensed week. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak. And here we go. 254-339-1122 to the calls.
Donnie in Oklahoma, you are on the BetUS caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, first of all, go damn Pokes.
There you go.
There you go.
Second of all, that's right. Second of all, I want to point out that the Big 12 released their awards for the week for this last weekend, and the Texas Tech punter got Big 12 Coach Specialist of the Week. Tell me you played Oklahoma State's defense without telling me you played Oklahoma State's defense.
Yeah, he had I don't know how many punts. It seemed like a dozen, but I do know this. He had what were 5, 6, 7, or 8 that were 50 yards and longer. He had a big game, obviously. Normally when you see a guy lead the country or be among the leaders in the NFL in punting, a lot of times it's for a team that struggles. Not every year, but a lot of times it's against a team that is not playing all that well. But yeah, he punted a ton.
Right. When you have a linebacker like Malcolm Rodriguez on your defense, and the punter for the opposing team ends up being the best defensive player, that's saying a lot.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Speaking of Malcolm Rodriguez, the Buckus finalists were announced today, and Rodriguez wasn't even on the finalist list. Number 2 defensive team in the nation. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on that. Him being left off leads the nation in tackles for loss. And also would love to hear you guys expound on the second week of Texas Tech fans throwing shit on the field and just being the trashiest fan base in the Big 12. Thanks.
Donnie, yeah, you could have asked that last question a little bit differently, so kind of watch it. But they did. They were throwing blank on the field, and you're right. Remember the big brouhaha from the week before and the broadcasters got in trouble. But, yeah, they had another bad day in Lubbock as far as the fan base and reacting. The Butkus Award, here's what I do. It's a lot easier, and I say this before, and we get to your point, Craig, is what – there's a lot of great linebackers, and they go down to like 5, 6, or 7. I'm on a lot of these lists. I'm not on that one, but not everybody can make the list, and Rodriguez is a fantastic player. Terrell Bernard's not on the list either. Now, he hadn't had a great year, but he's had a good year, and he had a reputation coming into the year as well. And it's just kind of it's kind of one of the deals. It's unfair at times, but at the same time, here's what: put Malcolm Rodriguez in, who you taking off. But you got to study everybody who's a part of the list because it's a lot easier sometimes said than done.
Yeah, by the way, the list is Darian Beavers from Cincinnati, Leo Chenal from Wisconsin, Damone Clark from LSU, Nakobe Dean at Georgia, Devin Lloyd at Utah, and Chad, I believe it's Muma, at Wyoming.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was deserving of a spot, but like Smokey said, there's only so many spots that you can fill, and you can't have a field of 15 finalists. It'd be nice if you could. All those players that were mentioned are good, but Rodriguez is top 5 in like almost everything. I think it's incredibly disrespectful for him to not be, with what they're doing defensively, to not be on the list. I mean, he's the captain and the leader of the best defense in the country, arguably, and to not have him mentioned, I just think is a huge oversight on the part of that voting committee. And as somebody who's part of a voting committee, I can tell you right now, sometimes you need to clean up those committees because there's a lot of people that are lazy and just look at the familiar name, or they look at the most recognizable and they just vote that person. Like, I actually had people trying to argue for Zach Evans on a semifinalist for the Earl Campbell Award. And I'm like, what has he done? He hasn't played in 4 weeks. Even then, he wasn't the best player on TCU's offense. Tell me, how in the world do you think that watching football this season, Zach Evans belongs on any awards list? So I don't know if that is the case with the Butkus as well, but I'm sure that it is, because that's an award that's been around for a long time and probably has a lot of voters. But even still, I mean, that's just a gross oversight. If he played for Ohio State or Alabama, he would be on that list. I feel very confident in saying that. So, yeah, that's a raw deal there.
Yeah,
but hey,
at the same time, you have a guy from Wyoming who's
true.
on the list, but it's really not easy to do. But every point you make, I agree with, because I'm on some of these lists as well. And some of these, for example, I forgot which one it was. I wish I could remember the exact, but there's a lean towards a certain school or two sometimes in the Big 12. When it comes to a few things, and those schools, not all of them, seem to hold up their end of the bargain, but there's a name, there's a reputation. I
just think for a conference that's playing really good defense, to not have a single player, a linebacker from the Big 12, and especially somebody like Malcolm Rodriguez, I just think that's an oversight. So it is what it is, and look, I'm sure he'd be far happier to win a Big 12 title and get into the playoff, which is really what's in store for Oklahoma State more than individual awards. As far as the Tech thing, I think it's gross. I think the throwing trash on the field 2 weeks in a row, or 2 games in a row, whatever it's been, it's just trash. They're literally acting like what they're throwing on the field. It's petulant behavior. I know Texas Tech, especially in the late 90s, early 2000s, really had this reputation for being an incredibly tough place to play. Tortilla pads would be flying and all that, and they kind of had to reel that in because it got it too out of control. And having lived out there for a couple of years, the one thing I know about Tech fans, at least in my experience, is that they take pride in being kind of trashy and kind of the rough house, the throw trash on the field group. I don't think many other fan bases would take pride in that and would run far away from that. But Tech kind of embraces that, like the wild child. And that's something that Joey McGuire is going to have to deal with and root out and stem somewhat, because you can't keep having these situations where trash is being thrown on the field. It's just, after the first time, I know that there was a bunch of bad calls in that Iowa State game. I heard all about it, read all about it. Obviously, the radio announcers got suspended. It was so bad. But you can't keep throwing trash on the field. And the next week, so next week against Baylor, if it was in Lubbock and they get a couple bad calls, that's just excuses to throw trash on the field every time?
Was that game, was bad calls the reason that Oklahoma State was choking them out? No,
not that game.
I mean, why are you mad?
Clark from LSU leads the country in tackles. Muma from Wyoming's 4th in the country in tackles. Chenal from Wisconsin's 9th in the country in tackles. And there was one other name that was on the list. Now, should Rodriguez have been on the list? I don't know. I'm not a voter. I don't know how the process broke it down to the last, but he's 25th in the country. But he has a lot, as you mentioned, Donnie, thanks for the call, more than just 96 tackles. He has a bunch of disruptive plays as well.
All right, 2 more quick ones. Diane, thank you for your call from Grand Prairie.
Hi. Grand Prairie, that's weird. Just wanted to say hi. I'm on my way home from shopping from the big Thanksgiving meal, so I'm not able to be on the chat room. That place is crazy. I just wanted to recognize, I know we're doing a lot of football stuff today so far, but I just want to recognize the Baylor men's program in basketball and their 38-point win over Stanford this weekend after Stanford was bad-mouthing our team, saying we were soft and lazy and overhyped. I hope they enjoyed their L on their flight home. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. We mentioned, Diane, thank you very much for your call, and you've been loyal from day one. I know we got to get to a call, but I watched at halftime, 34-28, very competitive, and then all of a sudden, poof, Stanford was gone.
Oh, they were ridiculous. Deforestation. That's what happened.
Just crushed their soul.
To the Stanford Cardinal. And
Baylor's in the Bahamas now, right?
Yeah, and if Stanford is talking trash, those are smart kids.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be smarter than that, Stanford.
Academically, they ought to check them now because of that.
Yeah.
All right, one more call, then a break, and we'll come back with Ricky Thompson.
I think this is Peyton in Houston. Peyton, thanks for your call.
Hi, thanks. I know y'all talked about Stillwater being a hard place to play, and TDECU is relatively new, but as of this season, we have 3 undefeated seasons at home and a 744 average and 5-1 against ranked teams. Also, Marcus Jones on the Paul Horning Award needs to be on the Heisman. Thanks.
Appreciate it. You texted me, I think, last night. I believe you did, to get that information out. I appreciate that. Yeah, Houston's had a nice run.
Yeah.
And they are really good. That Cincinnati-Houston game, too, as a collision course. Mm-hmm. And think about Houston's only loss, a meltdown to Texas Tech to start the year. And otherwise, who knows? And again, if they would have won that game, maybe they stubbed their toe against somebody else. But, yeah, they're playing at a very, very high level. As far as Jones in the Heisman conversation, I don't think so. He's had a really good year, though.
I'll say this. If the committee is smart, seeing as they may be backed into a corner to put Cincinnati in, prop Houston up this week. That way you can be like, we saw this coming the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, they could, and they might. But, haven't really given a whole lot of thought to Houston and home field advantage, but that's obviously something with the Big 12 changing here soon to start looking at those road trips to Houston. That's good. You want to carve out a tough home field advantage. Baylor, for example, they're looking to be undefeated at home after this weekend. And you look at, if they get to 10 wins with a win this weekend, a big part of that would be playing well at home. You play well at home, and a lot of other stuff takes care of itself and makes a lot of other things easier on you. So to have a tough place to walk into and play, that's great. That's the culture building and developing. And I don't think Dana Holgerson's gotten a whole lot of talk this year, but he deserves it. He got a whole lot of bad talk last year and a whole lot of questions during the offseason. But here he has them, playing for a conference championship and looking damn good doing it. So I think Dana Holgerson deserves a lot of credit, and I haven't heard much of any directed towards him. And Marcus Jones, not at a position or at a school where he's going to get as much of attention as he probably deserves, but enjoy what you're watching because he's having a special type of year. Way more people need to know about him. Way more people need to watch him and go back and watch him, and he's been awesome. So, yeah, he's not going to have a chance at the Heisman, but he definitely deserves to have his fair share of mentions in the postseason.
He is the one that knocked out SMU, knocked him out with a long return to close out that game. When we come back, Ricky Thompson had a ground level view of Kansas State and Baylor up in Manhattan. He'll join us, and then we focus in on Notre Dame and Utah and Oklahoma State before the show's over. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I saw the newest ad from Waco Custom Marketplace for this week. Of course, what a great place to be for Thanksgiving because they have product. They have a butcher shop, and they can help you with what you need. But here are some of their specials for this week. Open through Wednesday of this week. They have hot links for $3.50, select choice and prime brisket, available from $3.99 a pound to $4.25 a pound to $5.75 a pound. You go, wait a minute, Thanksgiving's about a ham and a turkey, or maybe even if you want to do a rib roast or something. But what about Baylor, home against Texas Tech, and perhaps tailgating on Saturday as well? And then if you want to change things up a little bit with some fish, seafood, My Mahi at $10.50 a pound, redfish fillet $17.99 a pound, and they continue to have those bacon ends and pieces available for just $2.99 a pound. Hams, turkeys, butcher shop, bakery, Thanksgiving coming up, Baylor at home Saturday against Texas Tech, Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
It's the Black Friday sales event going on now. Come see the beautiful, elegant third-row seat Jeep Grand Cherokee L in stock at Allen Samuels. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited has total values of $3,500 or 0% for 72 months going on now and no payments for 90 days. First responders get an extra $500 cash. Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Isaac Power kicks it away. Brooks muffed, picked up by Baylor. Baylor recovers.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Baylor now 9-2 on the year. Texas Tech coming up on Saturday. Close out the regular season. Still hopes of being in the Big 12 championship game. And Ricky Thompson had a close personal view right there on the sidelines of Baylor and Kansas State in Manhattan. A physical, knockdown, drag-out, back alley street fight. Is that a good way to put it, Ricky?
Yeah, it really was. It was nice to see a player or two in there when there was not somebody from either K-State or Baylor down on the field. It was, I think, unusually, I've never seen that many guys go down in one game, and they were all legitimate. And even when they weren't. I just think of one play in particular that Abram Smith lowered his shoulder on a 165-pound cornerback. And if I was that guy, I would have been trying to untie his shoes and not take him on up high, because I think Abram nearly killed him. It was just a very physical game from start to finish. But you know what? On the road like that, when you win a game that's that physical and that important, that goes a long way for the confidence of a football team.
Ricky, that was not a blowout by any stretch of the imagination, but they felt in control the whole time. And even when they weren't scoring, it just felt like they knew that they had that game. Did you get that feeling?
Yeah, I really did. I thought the only turning point at all in that game, obviously, is when we had the offside, had them stop, we're up 14-0, force a punt, and then we line up offsides. And then the next play, Bond goes, 75 yards, 74 yards, and it's 14-7. But then you come back, your quarterback gets hurt, you're driving, second play that the kid's in, Chapin, you go for 4th and 6, and you pick it up. And when we did that, I'm thinking, you know what, these guys have this. They're going to be fine. You get that field goal before half going at 17-7. Even when they come out and kick it and it's 17-10, you never really felt threatened. I'm sure the team did. I'm sure they felt like this is too close, but I just didn't think Kansas State had what it took offensively to put our defense in a real bind, and sure enough, they did.
Ricky, Blake Shapen, I mean, you mentioned him. You've seen him mostly on the sidelines so far in his career, but gets the call, and it's not in mop-up duty. Comes in, as you said, they attacked right away. He was throwing it around, using his legs, and having to make some very important decisions. Just what did you think of the cool, calm, and collected nature, once he got some of those nerves out, obviously, of Blake Shapen in that second half?
Well, I don't know how you could have asked for anything better. I tell you what, Craig, he came in, and his first drop back, he dropped, he set his feet, and they didn't move. He sat there for a 3 or 4 count before he delivered that ball, and delivered it on the money, and he did that all night. I think he was sacked once maybe, had a couple of runs, the really big run, 28-yard run that was at a critical time, and I don't know how you would deliver the ball any better. I tell you what, he's got such a quick release. I just think back, it shows my age, back Dan Marino and those guys who kind of cocked it by the ear and let it fly. And he's just like that, and he rips it. He gets rid of it quickly. Good decision-making. He can run. I just thought if he had an issue, it wouldn't be ability. It would have been nerves. And I don't know about you guys. I did not see any nerves out there. I just saw a very calm, good quarterback.
You know, it's interesting is I like, and I've seen teams when they go to a backup quarterback and they're tentative or they're kind of protect him, and I get that too. But I mean, let it rip, right? Why not? Let it shows how prepared he was. It also shows the quarterback room under Sean Bell is pretty darn well. We knew that they're in great shape.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got. Think about teams that have really had to come completely out of their game plan when the number one guy goes down. I mean, they change everything. They either stop throwing the ball or they get real conservative with dumping it with screen pass here and there and completely change the game plan. We didn't change anything. And as I said, you don't go for 4th and 6 with your backup quarterback if you're not pretty confident on the second play he's in the ball game. So I don't really ask for anything better. 16 of 21, 137 yards, and basically half a game he went in with 59 seconds to go in the half. And it's not like they could go over there and say, hey, Blake, next series you're going in. It was, hey, Bohannon's down. You got to go. So he had no time to warm up or prepare. And I'll tell you, the other thing I noticed, Smoak, is after the game that these players, I talked to Tyquan Thornton briefly, and they had great confidence in him. And I said, well, you made a good position play on the deep ball that Blake threw to you by turning your body, getting around, making the play, getting a foot down as a receiver. That's not an easy play. And he said, oh, it was easy because I knew where the ball was going to be. I knew where Blake was going to put it. So These guys didn't let up when he got in there. and I think it permeated through the whole football team. I think the offense was very comfortable to have him in there, and not many teams have two guys like that.
Ricky, as they headed to Texas Tech this week, that's a team, and they've got some sort of advantage with Joey McGuire being able to help them game plan and not, but that's a team struggling right now. How do you feel about the matchup as they head into the last week, needing to win and just kind of, watch what happens at Bedlam?
Yeah, they do, and I think the only thing about Tech is they are really unpredictable. We've seen them play some really, really tough football games, and we've seen Texas put 70 on them. I think that was really a little bit of a fluke, as we see at this point. But Tech's got some players; they've got the ability, and I think we'll have to be ready to play to beat them. And I would be shocked if Dave Aranda and this team, if they're not ready to play. I know they say Bohannon's day to day. I would bet on Chapin being in the game. I've had hamstrings before, and the thing about those is it's hard to tell when they're well unless you go full speed. And I don't think they take that chance with him just yet. But I would be comfortable with Chapin in there, no doubt. It's a home game. They're 6-0 at home. And it's not like they're not playing for something in November. They're playing for an opportunity at a Big 12 championship game. And I tell you what, guys, if I had to take one team or the other, I'd take Oklahoma State and the Bedlam game at Stillwater.
Yeah, I would too, Ricky. I think they're playing better overall, but man, you just never. Oklahoma has owned that game, and you never know with them. But I wanted to ask you from a player's perspective, when you're in a game like the one they were in on Saturday, where there's a lot of emotions, they're on the road, very physical. And you go through the, not only the physical part of it, but just the getting through your quarterback getting hurt and now having to gear up and get ready for another game. What does a physical game like that, what kind of a toll does that take? Is that something that you worry about lingering heading into this week, or are they so deep in the season and so, calloused up at this point that it's not as much of a concern?
Well, I think that can go either way, Craig. It's a good point. I think it can really wear on you and run into the next game and have an effect on you. I think we saw it in Abram Smith Saturday night. Abram wasn't healthy. You could tell that. He wasn't able to run the way that he normally does. He ended up with, 45 yards, I think, and they were tough yards, and he ran hard with the football. We saw him really just kind of limp off the field a couple of times, really banged up. I know Terrell's banged up, but look, this is the 12th game, and if you can get this far into the season and not be banged up, you're pretty fortunate. I really think health-wise we've been pretty lucky so far, but I think they'll be fine. I think that they will probably ease into it this week, in that maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, let some of these guys that are bunged up a little take it a little bit easy and try to get their bodies as prepared as they can. But I'll tell you what, the way I've seen these guys and the way they play, and I'm going to be surprised if they don't have to rope them and drag them off to keep them from playing this Saturday, because I think they'll all be out there. And the other thing I was going to mention, Craig, the game, as I watched it Saturday, and Smoak, I got your text about how physical it was. Man, these guys were smiling and having a good time the whole game, and it's just almost an unusual sense on the sideline of, man, this is fun. And I think we saw it in basketball, how those guys liked each other and they kept winning and they played for each other. But these guys fight their tails off for each other, and that's just really impressive.
Aranda cited the Juice Crew, some of the guys who are on the sidelines it's their job basically to keep the energy up, and we know it's been a problem on the road for them, but wasn't on Saturday. Could you feel a difference in the team generating their own energy on Saturday?
Well, you know what I did? I noticed those guys, particularly Tate, the offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. I knew I hadn't seen him on the road before, and then I start watching, not at the beginning of the game, I really didn't think anything about it, but as the game progressed, I noticed on kickoffs we had our crew over there waving towels and jumping up and down, and like you do at home games, and it was Tate in that group. So I guess that's the only reason they brought them. But I tell you what, it worked. They were excited and jumping around, and I know Dylan Doyle mentioned it after the game. We were talking just briefly, and he said those guys really added some fire to the sideline and made it fun. But I mean, it's pretty impressive that they thought about it and brought those guys with them. I mean, you don't usually travel those guys that are redshirted for sure. So that's another impressive step this team's taken to get everything they can out of everybody in every game.
Thank you, Ricky. Appreciate it. Ricky Thompson, Baylor sideline reporter, former Baylor wide receiver, and also Washington football team, Redskins back when he played wide receiver. Think about this. If they win Saturday, it'll be 10 wins. Art Briles had a handful of teams that had 10 wins, and then he's gone. And then Matt Rule's third year, they had 11 wins. And Dave Aranda's second year, he could have 10 wins or more. There's a bigger goal than just what they are 9-2. That's pretty impressive with all the upheaval and change and transition that they've had to deal with their coaching staff. All right.
I want to comment on Eduardo, the Texas Tech fan that had an issue with what I was saying earlier about the fans throwing trash on the field and being trashy by throwing trash on the field. Eduardo had a comment because it's an easy thing to do, and anytime like any criticism comes from the direction of Waco, Texas, I guess, is to bring up the Baylor rape scandal, even though that's obviously been dealt with. But Eduardo, Jet Duffy, and if it was so bad, you just hired Baylor assistant coach Joey McGuire, and he's bringing staff with him. So, just wanted to point that out for you, buddy.
Yeah, Eduardo came in with a little hit and run. And
little heat that it was pretty cold, actually, because, again, Jet Duffy and how many games he played after the fact. And, again, you hired Joey McGuire from Baylor staff. So, good day to you, buddy.
When we come back, we're going to focus in on Notre Dame. They are playing well, but they have a problem. In front of them, Cincinnati, among others. But they are playing really well and just smoked Georgia Tech. And Brian Driscoll will join us next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Discover Woodway, discoverwoodway.com, and they have had this really, really cool concert series that's come through their Arboretum and what they have, the pavilion, over the last few months, and they'll continue that as well. And, they're not done. They will have special events as we get into the holiday season, and I'll have more on that as we get there. They have been fantastic from Halloween with the police and the drive-through to have Halloween candy brought your way, and then constant concerts back and forth. In fact, one of the concerts, Jake Hoot and the Sundance Head, they went from Waco and then performed, I think, the next day or two in Lubbock. So they are always on the run. The Carlene Bright Arboretum, it extends over 16 acres, a home to the Botanical Gardens, known as the Jewel of Woodway, boasts a certified Monarch Way Station, a koi pond, fountains, meditation garden, Todd Willis Nature Trail, winds through native woodlands suitable for all explorers, and much more. If you've never been there, it is a spectacular view and a spectacular place to hold a special event, whether it's a dinner, a banquet, and or a wedding. It's discoverwoodway.com.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Bird Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Bird Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sick 'em Bears.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The pistol on 2nd and 2. Yates pressured by Foskey. Good interception. That one's going to count, and that's a Jack Kaiser. Notre Dame touchdown.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Notre Dame, after the loss to Cincinnati, has gone about their business and just kept winning and won big, huge over the weekend. And now, if they have any hope of that college football playoff, they need some things to happen, but they have to take care of their own business. And a heavy favorite against Stanford coming up this weekend. We're joined by Brian Driscoll, Irish Breakdown on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brian, why are they better? Is it just because of who they're now playing, or have they gotten better in certain aspects of their game?
Well, obviously, when you play a lighter schedule, you're going to look better, right? I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say, like, no, if they were playing Cincinnati and Wisconsin again, they'd be blowing them out the same way. Playing a softer schedule has helped them, but look, there's also changes they made when they went into the bye week. Notre Dame's bye week this year was literally right in the middle of the season. They played 6, had a bye week, and then played 6. They made some changes and adjustments, and especially offensively, they went out and said, hey, look, what we're doing, who we thought we were going to be, is not what we're good at. We have to figure out what is our team good at. They started going a little bit more, started throwing the pass game, using the pass game to kind of set up the run. They attacked the perimeter more frequently in more diverse ways. They started attacking down the field a little bit more effectively. And then the offensive line started playing better as the competition got worse. And that's helped them really get going offensively. Defensively, it's really just been about Marcus Freeman learning his players and his players learning Marcus Freeman. And that unit has continued to click more and more and more and more. The reality is twice this year now, Notre Dame's defense has scored more points than their opponents in those games. They outscored Wisconsin, and then this past weekend they outscored Georgia Tech. So when your defense is giving up 9 points in 3 games and twice is scoring more points than your opponent, you're going to be a pretty good football team.
Brian, just reading some tweets about Notre Dame over the weekend, it appears that a lot of the fan base, a lot of people that cover it, thought that 2023 was kind of the year, the way that the recruiting was stacking up and how guys would kind of develop into that. But After this year, do you feel like maybe they're a year ahead of that pace of where people thought they would be in contention for the CFP again?
It amazes me how many Notre Dame fans have lowered the standard at Notre Dame. Brian Kelly's in his 12th year. Why are we waiting till year 14 for him to have a championship caliber football team? Notre Dame should have been this team all year. That's my frustration. A lot of things that we talked about early in the year when I was on you guys before, things that I talked about on my show before the season, that they needed to be offensively is what they eventually went to. And it was like, why did you wait so long to do that? And that's really been the story of Brian Kelly's tenure is he waits until it's too late to make the changes, whether it's firing Brian Van Gorder, whether it's changing his offense, whatever the case may be. And that's the frustrating thing is because what we saw Saturday against Georgia Tech, that's the team we should have seen for most of the season. So I don't understand why. I mean, Notre Dame's got, 3 potential first-round picks on the defensive side of the ball. They've got one of the best running backs in the country, one of the best tight ends in the country, and they're playing a schedule where you've got, one team that's got fewer than 3 losses on your schedule. Why wasn't this the year? Why is it next year the year? So, no, when you've done what Notre Dame's done, your expectation every year should be to compete for a championship. You don't get 3-year rebuilds when you've been at a school for 12 years.
So Stanford coming up next. They have not been a very good team this year. Just your thoughts on the Cardinal entering this game, and does Notre Dame have that self-motivation given that it's not, a 9-8 win team that's coming in that's pretty good? It's a team that's obviously floundering and going the opposite direction.
Well, I think Brian Kelly's going to still have in the back of his mind, he's a competitive guy, right? He's going to have in the back of his mind some of the spankings that Stanford put on him when he was trying to get his program going early in his career. So I think he's going to have that in the back of his mind. I think the other thing, too, is what we've talked about at the beginning is Notre Dame's not necessarily just playing Stanford and then it is what it is.
Right.
Notre Dame's playing Stanford with the thought of we know we have to go out there and play to a certain level of standard at Notre Dame. People know we are one of the 4 best teams in college football. And so I think that's the mindset going into this game is it's not about Stanford at all. It's about Notre Dame. It's about us. Are we going to play to the standard on all 3 phases of the game that we've set for ourselves and that we know we have to play at to let the committee know that we are a national championship contending team, which is what I think you need to be one of the 4 playoff teams.
So, as you know, Florida now the latest team to have a job opening, and I think SMU probably by the end of the week will be the next. And I'm not trying to compare SMU to Florida or even Notre Dame. And I saw where it was an SI story about Brian Kelly and USC, as you know, with Dave Aranda and how hot he's become as a commodity with what he's done at Baylor, with the thoughts and speculation of him being a candidate elsewhere. Why would he ever leave Notre Dame? Isn't that one place when you're there you don't leave unless they ask you to?
I think it's just more of the media kind of looking for something to talk about to generate discussion and page views and all those type of things. Look, do I think Brian Kelly could be enticed to leave Notre Dame? Sure. He's 60 years old. He talks a lot about living in Florida when he retires. I mean, if Florida Gators wanted to offer him $10+ million a year, would he consider leaving Notre Dame? Sure. I would imagine so. But he's not going to USC. And that's the kind of funny thing is he knows what kind of dumpster fire that program is right now. And he understands as a coach, like most coaches do, there's a reason every time there's an opening at USC, there's all these big names that get mentioned and they never hire any of them because most coaches know there's a lot I have to deal with at USC that I don't have to deal with at, Baylor, for example. So, yeah, I may make more money, but I'm going to be taxed a whole lot more, too. And I'm going to have to deal with crazy expectations of, 2017, I could be a team that's, 11 wins and a year later I'm on the hot seat because we're not winning 11 games again. I don't know if it's as attractive a job as the media thinks it is, and it's definitely not a place that the coach of Notre Dame leaves for. As long as you said, as long as he's welcome back in Notre Dame, and of course Brian Kelly is certainly someone that Notre Dame would like to keep around.
Brian, what do you think the best scenario for Notre Dame is this weekend on getting into the playoff and seeing how the next 2 weekends really, how the chips would have to fall?
I think Notre Dame needs 2 definitively happen. Number one, I think they need Oklahoma to beat Oklahoma State. I think that's one thing that they need to happen because I don't think either one of those 2 teams can upset each other, or beat each other twice, excuse me. And so if Baylor loses this weekend at Texas Tech, which I don't expect to happen, or if Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State, then that sets up rematch, and I think they kind of cancel each other out. I think that's something that helps Notre Dame when it comes to the Big Ten kind of gaining on them. And then the other one is they need Georgia to beat Bama. I think if those two things happen, I think Notre Dame gets in. I think it'll be at that point in time, it'll be Georgia, Ohio State, Cincinnati, and Notre Dame, assuming Cincinnati runs the table. So I think those are the two things that Notre Dame needs to have happen here over the next couple weeks.
I guess it's sticking with looking ahead. I mean, how do you think they would stack up? Obviously, Georgia looks like an absolute juggernaut right now, but how do you think Notre Dame stacks up with some of the other top teams in the country?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm more concerned about Ohio State than I am Georgia.
Fair.
And that's not to say that Georgia's not a great team. It's that Georgia's a phenomenal defense. I'm still not sold that Georgia's going to be able to go out there and be a great offense against a great defense. I mean, in my opinion, they faced one great defense all year, and they didn't score a single offensive touchdown in that game, that being the Clemson game. Now, I know Georgia has some receivers out, but they still have most of those receivers are still out. Don't think they're a great offensive team, and I think that's the kind of team Notre Dame would be able to match up with more because of how good their defense is. And we saw that Marcus Freeman did a pretty good job against that defense or that offense last year when he was at Cincinnati. And so the teams that concern me are more a team like Ohio State. Before Oklahoma lost, I had mentioned Oklahoma's the team that scares me a little bit more. Not scares me, but is a worse matchup for Notre Dame simply because they can score. And in the college football playoff, as we've seen since it started in 2014, unless you have two SEC teams playing against each other, it's about who can score the most points. And I think you can get into a score fest with Georgia where you could beat them 27-24. I don't think you could score 27 points and beat Ohio State.
Yeah, what they did Saturday was awesome. I mean, it was almost awe-inspiring. I mentioned Brian Kelly, and you kind of discussed his future, how long he's been locked into Notre Dame. But what about Marcus Freeman? Are those now his name's out there, right? He's the hot coordinator. And is the plan eventually for him to be the next head coach, or do you feel like he'll be somewhere else? Then maybe something happens with Notre Dame down the road.
Well, Notre Dame has never addressed anything publicly about Coach Freeman being the next head coach at Notre Dame. There was a brouhaha about comments that Brian Kelly made this summer. He talked about Marcus Freeman is going to be the next head coach. He was referring to just next head coach from his staff being hired as a head coach. I wrote an article yesterday at irishbreakdown.com where I said, look, it's time for Notre Dame to step up and do whatever it takes to keep Marcus Freeman here. Because number one, he's doing a great job as a coach. His recruiting has been at an elite level since he got here. And to me, he is someone that you don't necessarily want to lose him, because you may not lose him to a Cincinnati. You may lose him to a place where you can't get him back in 3 to 4 years before Kelly retires. So, sort of like what we saw at Oklahoma, even though Oklahoma never did it officially, I think there was always the expectation that he would kind of take over, Lincoln Riley would take over when Bob Stoops left. We saw this at Ohio State, obviously with Ryan Day sort of being the eventual heir apparent to Urban Meyer. Notre Dame needs to make sure that Marcus Freeman understands that you are that guy, and rewrite the contract and give him some more money and make sure he knows that. I don't care if they do it officially or publicly, meaning publicly. I don't care if they do it behind the scenes, which actually I'd prefer it that way. But they need to make sure they do whatever they can to keep him here, because I do believe if he stays here for the next couple of years and continues to learn under Brian Kelly, and then, of course, what he learned under Luke Fickell, I absolutely think he's a guy that could be that next head coach at Notre Dame. And there'd be a lot of Notre Dame fans and a lot of Notre Dame players that'd be very excited about that.
So are you saying it would take something maybe more like that to make sure that it would take something more? Like USC would have to call Marcus Freeman and say, it's yours, Marcus, as opposed to, say, Virginia Tech and that's not a bad one either, or like a Memphis or somebody who I don't think will be open, but just for example.
Yeah, I don't think that's the job he would leave Notre Dame for now. Now, maybe in a couple of years, if he's not getting some better offers, he might consider that. But, when you're at Notre Dame and you're the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame and you're 35 and you're a hot commodity and you're recruiting the way he's recruiting, you say, okay, I could take the Virginia Tech job now, or we could come back next year, compete for a title again next year or the next 2 years. And now all of a sudden when Penn State comes open or Michigan comes open or Tennessee comes open, you're just throwing out random jobs, not that that's going to come open. You get the point that I'm making. To me, those are better jobs than a Virginia Tech or an SMU or a job like that. I just don't see that making a lot of sense for Coach Freeman. Plus, he's always been a Midwestern guy. He played at Ohio State. He's coached at Ohio State, Purdue, Cincinnati, Notre Dame. I think that's also going to lend a little bit to him saying, hey, look, let me stay here. Let me continue to build. He's still only 35. He doesn't need to rush to take a head coaching job this now. I'd rather be the head coach at Notre Dame at 38 than the head coach at Virginia Tech at 35.
You mentioned the possibility of who you would be worried about in the Big 12. Oklahoma's offense is not the same. You've watched them, haven't you, Brian, as far as
I have, yeah.
They have really struggled. Oklahoma State has run the conference. So I don't know if Oklahoma has any kind of firepower right now with anybody.
Well, I think as far as a matchup against Notre Dame, that concerns me more than it would be. And again, when I made this comment, it was 2 weeks ago. It was before they played Kansas, right? So that's the point that I was making. It was before their loss. It was before we've seen them struggle. Because the concern I have about Oklahoma too is when you look at that team, it's a very young team. You've got a freshman quarterback, you've got an offensive line that's replacing a lot of new pieces. You've got a lot of young offensive linemen. Your best receiver's a sophomore. Marquise Williams is a freshman. That's not a team I necessarily want to give a month to regroup and prepare, is the way that I look at that. And as much as they're not what they used to be, they're still a team that's averaging 39 points per game. They're still a team that has had that moment where, okay, they got hot today and they looked better today. And then the next week they're going to score 14 against Baylor. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes them dangerous, is you don't know what you're going to get. Whereas Oklahoma State is a phenomenally well-coached, hard-nosed, gritty football team, but you can score 24 and beat them.
Well, that's good. All right, if he calls back, Paul, we're done. Thank you. That's it. All right, Brian Driscoll, who covers Notre Dame Irish Breakdown, appreciate his feedback on that. Yeah, I noted. A lot of you on the chat room were questioning about Brian and mentioning Oklahoma. I wanted to give him a chance to follow up on that. You can disagree with him, and that's fine. But Oklahoma State can score some points now. They can put up some points, but they're more likely to beat you like they did Baylor. And like they might Oklahoma in a game that they are going to keep that thing not dummied down. That's just the way they can play. That's the way their defense just doesn't get into many boat races.
No, they don't, but their offense is not that great. I mean, it's not one that I think you have a lot of confidence going into a shootout scenario. Not that they play in any shootouts because their defense is good. I think their offense is good enough to balance them out well, but it's not so good that you would take them and go like, yeah, they'll beat Georgia, or I'd take them against Georgia. I think their offense is the missing piece to putting them in that same category of some of those other teams that are at the top of the playoff rankings. They're not bad, but they're just not like great with Spencer Sanders and Jalen Warren and company. But they're effective enough, that's for sure. And I'm with them. I think I'd much rather play Oklahoma right now than Oklahoma State. Are you kidding? I don't care what style you play. I'd rather play Oklahoma than play Oklahoma State right now. And I get his point about the Oklahoma and the explosive and the firepower and all of that, but that doesn't even seem to be in the ballpark right now for them. I know they beat Iowa State, but just something a little off at the moment. They don't quite look like a playoff team to me, but Oklahoma State does.
Oklahoma State has basically kept everybody to about 24, 25 points and lower every game. Mm-hmm. They have just not allowed nobody to get into any kind of a just one of those. Sometimes you just get into one of those games. They just won't let that happen. And a lot of it is the fact that they run the ball well as well. And Warren wasn't even somebody that played much in the game against Texas Tech, and they didn't need him that much in that game either.
And if you look at Oklahoma State's only loss is a very, very close game on the road at Ames in an Iowa State desperation moment and a big moment for them where they needed to win a big game and keep pace in the race. So, yeah, I mean, that if that is their only loss, it's not in any way, it's to a team that's mediocre, but it's not a bad one when you look at the scope of it when it happened.
Well, one of the things that they don't do is even when they do score a lot of points, which they haven't done that much. Against Kansas, they blasted them 55-3, 63-17 TCU, and I watched a lot of that game. They don't even let games like that, when they are scoring a lot of points, where they get sloppy on defense to give up a couple of trash touchdowns at the end to let people get into the 20s or 30s. All right, when we come back, we went and focused in on Notre Dame. Up next, we focus on Utah. Wow. What they have done and where they are is amazing. And what they've done after losing a couple of games early. Charlie Brewer, of course, was benched. And what they've done since that time is just start to slowly but surely get better and better. And they just crushed Oregon. Utah with Jake Hatch, Locked on Utes, next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Ideal MRI is a place where you can find out what hurts so bad, what is bothering you at a point where you can't sleep because maybe you have a torn rotator cuff. If you've ever had one, and I have, it will shut you down. There are times when you can manage it, and there are times when it feels like somebody's got every knuckle in their big hand, whatever, and just digging into your shoulder. So if you need an MRI to find out what hurts, your doctor says, hey, we need to get an MRI, you tell your doctor about Ideal MRI. In the Central Texas Marketplace, just south of Waco on I-35, the Access Road, Highway 6, they have a state-of-the-art technology MRI machine, Texan specialists that will get you in and out. And it doesn't take forever in a waiting room loaded up with maybe 2 or 3 other dozen people. It's quick, it's easy, and it's professional, and their state-of-the-art technology MRI machine will find out exactly what's going on. I've been in there 2 or 3 times. And they also will call you, let you know. And, of course, your doctor would have to recommend them as well. You recommend them to your doctor, they'll contact Ideal MRI. And also, $497 or less every single time. That's $497 or less. In the average is $1,100 for an MRI at idealmri.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue.
It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's Tasty Oak Smoked Barbecue.
Next in line. New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they'll release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now is the time to get your name on Richard Carr's first in-line priority list and get a car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to discuss cars and trucks in transit today. Go to richardcarr.com for more details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more. Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
Christmas is the biggest time of year for engagements. You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10, every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
All right, 4:30, Jake Hatch. He's all over it up in Utah. Zone Sports Net with DJ and PK in the morning. Obviously, podcast host Locked on Cougars, Locked on Utes at Rebelcast as well. Joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. We've had Jake on before a handful of times. Jake, was it as simple as changing quarterbacks that got Utah rolling?
It sure seems that way. I do think that there is some also shuffling on that offensive line that got their offense untracked, but the quarterback decision to go with Cam Rising obviously got them going.
Did that result surprise you at all?
To a degree. I felt like Oregon was going to come in and give Utah more of a game than they actually did. It felt like Utah, though, in the first half of that game, took a stranglehold of it and never let go. So credit to Kyle Whittingham and his squad. They went into that game with a game plan, executed it to perfection, and as we saw, a 38-7 result.
Let's talk about Tavion Thomas and the year he's had. New single-season school record for rushing touchdowns with 16. I mean, it seems especially over the last few weeks that he has been just 3-4 a game. And a former Cincy guy as well, which is kind of interesting. But what kind of just dynamic ability and game-breaking ability has Tavion Thomas brought to this offense?
Well, he's got every tool you want in a running back. He's tall. I think Will Smith's 6'2", 210-some-odd pounds, and just runs extremely well. And the funny thing was, early in the year, Utah, they had some fumble issues with him. And Kyle Whittingham, if anybody pays attention to him, he does not like when his running backs turn the ball over. So he got benched a couple of times early on this season, but the coaching staff believed in his talent, believed in what this young man could do. And they kept going back to him, believing that at some point it was going to click for him. In the past 3 to 4 games, he's had, I think, 3 straight hat tricks in terms of 3 touchdowns in all of those games. He's just been very, very solid. And yeah, you mentioned the program record for rushing touchdowns in the season. And this is a program, if you go back through the Kyle Whittingham era, a lot of NFL running backs have come through this program, and it sure looks like Tavion Thomas is going to be the next one.
Yeah, and then, of course, the tragedy with Jordan, and I don't know how close they were. Obviously, they should have been teammates, I would think. Has he brought that up? No, they were not?
No, he transferred this
Okay.
Yeah. He was a junior college guy. He left Cincinnati, was at junior college level, and Kyle Whittingham talked about this. He saw the film of Tavion Thomas and said, why is nobody recruiting this kid? And he felt like they found a hidden gem, and they absolutely did. He has been lights out since arriving in Utah.
Yeah, and when you score 17, that's impressive. And as you said, he's big, strong type of guy, big, tall running back as well. So he's getting the tough yardage too, right?
Yeah, and I know that your listeners there in Texas are probably going to be angry about me making this comparison. He runs like an Earl Campbell. That's the type of runner that he is, just a big, strong dude who runs really, really hard, and he brings it every single game, and it's fun to watch. They have a number of other running backs on there. Former Oklahoma back TJ Pledger is the backup, who's had a really good season in his own right. But Tavion Thomas, he is the workhorse.
Jake Hatch covers Utah. The Utes blowing out Oregon this past weekend to send a message, and now putting themselves in the Pac-12 championship game with one left against Colorado, and obviously they have struggled this year. Any concerns about a letdown at all?
I don't think so. Kyle Whittingham's his press conference earlier today was all about saying, no, we're focused on this game and this game only. We're not looking ahead to Oregon. And that's how he's always operated as a head coach. It would be natural for some of his players, I feel like, to say, okay, we just got to get through this game and then obviously get ready for the Pac-12 title game. But they understand this is senior night for them, or senior day. It's going to be an afternoon game on Friday afternoon. But they're going to send those seniors out hopefully on the right note. As you mentioned, Colorado's been struggling this year, so it may not require an effort from Utah to win this game, but I do think that they are going to have to make sure that they avoid complacency at all costs.
Jake, I saw, and this was maybe just me catching something on Twitter, but you know, all the coaching discussion and all that's going on, is Kyle Whittingham, I mean, I know he's locked in as long as he wants to be the coach there, but I saw somebody talking about like maybe he'd retire in a couple of years. Do you feel that possibly happening or no?
So in the next couple of years, or 3 or 4 years, I think that would happen. There were rumors out there last week, unspecified reports saying that he might hang it up after this season. That is a little bit surprising to me that he would hang it up that soon. He has always said, and this is from day one when he took over as Utah's head coach 17 years ago, he has been very adamant that he is not going to be a lifer when it comes to coaching and being a head coach in particular. He wants to do other things with his life. So I think that, if you were asking me if he's going to retire in the next 5 years, yes, at some point he's going to hang it up in that next 5-year window, I believe. But after this season, I don't necessarily think that's going to happen.
So Oregon going in was obviously a team that was all built around the rushing game. Utah effectively stopped that from the very beginning. I mean, did incredibly well against that Oregon rushing attack. And obviously the passing game was a little bit iffy. But what have been your thoughts on the Utah defense, and in particular the way they were able to slow down the Ducks early and often this past weekend?
Yeah, it's been fun to watch them really grow into the season. They have a really young defensive line as compared to what they typically have at Utah. Normally they've got a bunch of upperclassmen who just eat up space along that defensive line, and they haven't necessarily had that most of this year. They struggled early on. The game against BYU, which they lost, Kyle Whittingham said he was as surprised as anybody that BYU beat them up along the interior of their offensive and defensive lines. But on the defensive side of the football, one guy has been the key to all their success, I feel like, and that is Devin Lloyd. He is going to be the first linebacker off of the NFL draft board, in my opinion, next spring. He is lights out. If folks have not watched number 0, he wears the number 0 for Utah, play ball, I'd encourage you guys to tune in and watch him. He is a really, really good football player. And on the back end, the nice part is their secondary. It's really come along similar to the defensive line. A lot of youth back there, but they have really grown into the season, and it seems like they're firing on all cylinders defensively.
And we're talking about the Buckets Award and Malcolm Rodriguez not being on there, but Devin Lloyd's on there. So is that a pretty big deal for him to get that honor?
Absolutely. This is a kid that he deserves all the plaudits coming his way. There were some people out there who wonder, okay, well, who is Devin Lloyd? I think soon enough, people are going to really start to pay attention to him. And when the NFL draft season comes around, you guys all know this, when they start showing those highlight films, you're going to see a lot of incredible plays from this season from Devin Lloyd. He's had some absolutely incredible sacks, interceptions. He's essentially done it all for Utah this year.
With Gary Patterson now gone from TCU, obviously Kirk Ferentz at Iowa, the most tenured coach, doesn't that make Whittingham too behind Patterson? Yeah, he's been there a ton.
17 years as the head coach. He was all the way back to 1994 on the Utah staff. You got to think about that. It's nearly 30 years in all coaching at the University of Utah, but 17 years as the head coach has been a long and very successful run.
So the Pac-12 championship game already booked their spot there, and they've been in it twice before in the last 3 seasons. Came up on the losing side in a low-scoring affair to Washington 3 years ago, and then blowout against the Ducks a couple years back. Do you feel a different sense with this team, though, entering the championship game? I know it's not this weekend, of course, but do you feel like a different sense with this version of the Utes?
I do. I think this is a team that's really gotten better as the season goes along. They're playing at an extremely high level right now. They're firing on all cylinders right now, offensively and defensively. It sure feels like there's going to be a different team that shows up there in Las Vegas when the Pac-12 title game takes place. But the biggest question is, who is Utah ultimately going to play? There's 3 different options still right now that they could be playing.
All right, yeah, because Oregon and Oregon State, who knows? I mean, Oregon State's playing well enough. That could create all sorts of tie-ins on what happens with that, right?
Well, and we can't count out Washington State either. As crazy as it sounds, a 7-5 Washington State team could be in that game. So a lot still to be played out this weekend up there in the Pac-12 North. So Utah's going to have to sit back, take care of business against Colorado, and then find out who they're going to play. I think everybody here in Utah wants to see them play Oregon again. Just it kind of gives more of the cachet. Nothing against Oregon State or Washington State. It just the Ducks have been in the national consciousness all year long. It'd be fun to see them rematch once again.
Thanks for your time, Jake. Appreciate it. Jake Hatch, Locked On Utes, plus, again, constantly busy covering everything from Salt Lake City and throughout the state of Utah.
Yeah, Devin Lloyd's a good player, but, man, Tavion Thomas, if y'all haven't watched him, he is incredible. And to think that he should be on the Cincinnati roster, or could be on the Cincinnati roster right now, it's pretty scary, but what a pickup that was for Utah. He has been amazing, just absolutely amazing over the last few weeks. I mean, you're guaranteed there's college fantasy sports, right? Like there's leagues you can play. Whoever's got him's like just racking up points every week in college fantasy because he's good for at least a couple, if not 3 touchdowns a game. I mean, look at the last month. 94 yards and 3 scores, 177 and 4 scores, 160 and 4 scores, 74 and 2 scores. That's his last month. He's been a man on fire.
Yeah, the problem you have daily college fantasy, the problem is that like it's really hard to do because guys like him cost more, and then you got to really hit on some low.
I've never played it. It already sounds too complicated for me. So
you get a $50,000 budget with 6 players, and then you've got to. So you got to get a quarterback and a running back and all this stuff. So you kind of have to really work it. Like for example, Blake Shapen this week might have 2 touchdown passes against Texas Tech. So that would be a good one because he's not going to cost you that much money because nobody knows anything about him really. Even the Vegas guys don't know that much about him. But then if you get Tavion Thomas, then you're going to be spending a lot more money. So you need to like balance it out. So I've tried it a couple times and then you look like, all right, well, who's the 5th wide receiver I'm going to get that's going to have good because I need to. It's tough to do.
Gary Lewis on the chat room, and in my opinion, Witt retires after the 21-22 season.
I didn't realize there was that talk. I'm, obviously is tuned into that, so I'm glad you asked that question because that was not something I really paid much attention to, but interesting.
I saw it the other day, and I guess, since I don't see him I saw him on TV the other night when they were playing Oregon. I saw him, and I'd seen that tweet earlier in the week, and I was like, oh, well, he does look older. I have the picture of him in my head is from the day he took over from Urban Meyer, which has been a long time ago now.
Yeah, 2005 or so.
Yeah, so
from
Urban's burned through like 4 jobs since then.
Beer Smoker 44. Witt deserves a damn statue for all he has done there.
I'm sure he will get one probably.
And there's a few others. The Utah beat Bama once, I remember, in the Sugar Bowl, beat down Alabama.
I remember. Yeah, that was kind of my introduction probably to Utah football, quite honestly. I mean, I'm sure I watched them before then on occasion, but just didn't remember it much. But yeah, I definitely remember that run, and that kind of put them in the, at least for me, into the national consciousness, and been paying attention ever since they made that run. But yeah, Thomas is a star. Cam Rising has been great. Defense, he mentioned Lloyd's been solid as well. They just shut down Oregon run game, and if you do that, Oregon has nothing they can possibly do if they can't run the football. They just don't have the talent at quarterback right now and receiver to be able to just throw it on you at will. So Utah did a good job of stuffing that out early and often and throughout. But Cam Rising, I mean, you got to give him a lot of credit as well. I know he mentioned some changes on the offensive line, but there's definitely one change that has coincided with this run they're on, and that is the switch at quarterback. And we all, love Charlie Brewer, but Cam Rising, I don't know how he wasn't the starter entering the season. And I've seen some other people make that same comment. Must have been some interesting practices that I guess Charlie has performed better, or I don't know what. But Cam Rising's clearly the guy, and there's no doubt.
Charlie has some intangibles in that he's. I mean, you can tell he's gutsy, and you can tell he's hard nosed, from the start. But I mean, just physically anymore, I don't know what he has over Cam Rising, and that to me would be the thing. But I think a lot of coaches like gumption.
No, he answered that. He answered that back earlier 2 or 3 weeks ago. He mentioned that the difference was that Rising did not get to do a lot in the spring. It was very much, and he had mentioned this, and a lot of writers or those who reported on Utah were like, okay, Brewer, it was because of the number of starts compared to none, basically. And that it wasn't because of anything other than just experience. And then you got to give Whittingham credit because he pulled that trigger very quickly after a couple of losses early in the year.
Speaking of Charlie Brewer, I know this is going to probably get brought up every week, and I hate it for him, so I want to get it out of the way on this show right now. But it is alarming how much Blake Shapen looked like Charlie Brewer on Saturday. I mean, just in the way, like everything about it, I felt like I was watching Charlie Brewer, except for healthier and quicker on the run.
Better arm.
So some pluses that Charlie didn't have, but just they looked like in the uniform a lot. The number, everything, the size. Even like kind of the way he scampered a little bit was reminiscent of Charlie Brewer.
I saw some discussion about this on the board, and I think it's something to clarify because I understand the way that everything ended with Charlie, and we've been over this many times. But I saw when someone mentioned that, like there was one time when Shapen was scrambling, and it looked to me like it was back in the days when the early fresh legs of Charlie Brewer. And there are people who get mad about trying to compare him a little bit. Yes, he's got a bigger arm. yes, he might end up being really, really good, but it's amazing to me how much just negativity and toxicity is when you hear, like, I made that comment. It really, to this day, blows my mind how negative people are about that. And I'm not going to get back into it because that, God bless, we got tired of that for about a year and a half. But he does. He has the same jersey number. If you look in the face, it looks like the same. He's got a better arm. He might end up being really, really good. He had a heck of a game against Kansas State. Now let's see if he has to play again this weekend against Texas Tech.
I also think that if you're parents out there and you're wondering, should I specialize my kid in a sport? I think Blake Shapen right now is a testament to why you shouldn't, because I do think that his baseball and like the fact he's got a shortstop's arm, and
there you go.
And it's live and it goes, and I think only playing sports, more sports helps you in the individual sports you're playing.
It's never to me ever been even an issue. It's not even a discussion. It's not
playing multiple sports.
Yeah, you absolutely
I don't
should play
see why it's
multiple
even a
sports if you
thing
can.
at all. No.
And if you get through it the other way, then that's great as well. By the way, there was a story in high school football late Friday that was just devastating. There was a big crash in Big Screen, Texas. It was a band director for Andrews High School was killed in a wreck. It was a head-on. And the game between Andrews and Springtown, the Porcupines, was pushed back. They're playing right now. They moved that game back to right now, and Springtown has just scored a couple of touchdowns, 43-33. I had somebody ask me about that game. All the other games have been over since Saturday night, or even most of them Friday, but Andrews 43-33, trailing Springtown with about 5 minutes left in the game. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, come by, let's be friends. Right now, Black Friday sales event continues, and the first truck brand to take the top spot overall in the new vehicle initial quality study by J.D. Power. The Ram 1500, the 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star. You get total values up to $1,500. Actually, total values up to $7,250 or 2.9% financing for 72 months plus a $2,000 bonus cash. Meanwhile, the Dodge brand also finished second to Ram in that J.D. Power's initial quality and prestigious quality study. 2021 Jeep Gladiator rated first among all midsize trucks. Get an early start to the Black Friday sales event at Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. The Jeep Grand Cherokee L. The Grand Cherokee Laredo are limited also. Total values of $3,500 or 0% financing for 72 months going on right now and no payments for 90 days. That option is there. The discounts, the dealer discounts, and more. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICKM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICKM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA Golf. They've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICKM125 or SICKM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICKM125 or SICKM200.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full-service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
David Hellman at the top of the hour. Cowboys lose in Kansas City 19-9 on a very low-scoring game. He'll join us. And then Robert Allen, sideline reporter for Oklahoma State at 5:30. Ross Dellinger had this on, I guess, over the weekend. Ole Miss on Friday became the first to distribute academic bonuses funded by football ticket sales. Rebels spent $2.5 million, giving 415 athletes $6,000 each. And then he followed up by saying, amid Saturday's game, there was some significant news out of Oxford. Ole Miss cut checks totaling $1.2 million to its athletes on Friday, becoming the first program to begin paying academic bonuses tied to the Alston ruling. And so that's the next step here.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully this keeps them from unionizing, or because that's popped up. And
yeah, that'd be a great idea to have a lot less spots available for all these athletes. I mean, if they want to really look out for themselves, the 5 people who filed that lawsuit in sports that aren't generating any money and totally ruin it for thousands of others moving forward, then go right ahead and unionize. That'd be the great play.
Here's one of the incentives. And this again, Ross Dellinger from the SI.com. Qualifications: be academically eligible. Everybody's going to do it. For sure, everybody in the SEC. Ross added this. This is the area where Baylor has, I'm sorry, this is a note from somebody. This is from the 281. This is a note where Baylor has got to get on the ball if we want to remain in the hunt for talent or else. So, Ole Miss, $6,000 to each of 415 athletes. That's impressive. Hey, that's a recruiting tool. And Ole Miss is doing well right now. They're kind of hot being just outside of the top 10 with Lane Kiffin as well.
Yeah, well, it's always somebody in the SEC that's on the forefront, and Ole Miss appears to be here, and I'm sure there's other schools that are in a similar position, but it's smart. I mean, you're not going to not be paying these guys and gals, so you might as well find ways to do it and be inventive with it and be smart with it, and I think rewarding people for taking care of their schoolwork is a good way to do that. I think there's not much room to complain if you're a college golfer and you're suddenly getting a $6,000 check. I mean, I think that's probably going to, fill your pocket. Even if you're a football player, a $6,000 check for just taking care of your work. I mean, that should motivate these student athletes, if anything else. And they already get a ton of help as it is, so you really have no choice but to get a free $6,000, quite honestly, because you've got all the tutors and everything to pass your classes. I think rewarding academics is a good thing. I mean, as much as we joke about the student athlete term or whatever, they are student athletes. They are still going to classes, and so that goes in tow with it, and I think that's a good thing.
And no one's telling you got to major in engineering. I mean, you can major in something that's allows you to get a good GPA, and then you can always go back and do something else later, I think there's now. I mean, if you're going to get $6,000, and that's the first time. I mean, it can only go probably go up.
About their stipends.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're going to get $6,000 a semester for getting good grades, that's $12,000 a year. So if you get $6,000 a year, I know this because being around college athletics as long as I have, I think it's one of the great frustrations of a lot of coaches and administrators of guys that get in academic trouble, because a lot of the guys that get in academic trouble, if you compare it to some of the kids, like regular students get in academic trouble, don't have near as many of the easily distributable resources.
If you're a student athlete in academic trouble, you are trying to be in academic trouble. You're so dumb that you're either not trying or you're unhelpable in any way. And I just made up a word there, but no, really, it's lazy. You are lazy if you are a student athlete that is not taking care of your schoolwork. And I know what the schedule and the grind is like, but to your point, they have so much help that if you're not passing your classes, then you're just not putting in the work.
It's kind of like the NFL and the weed policy.
Yeah,
if you fail your weed test in the NFL,
exactly,
believe me, you are not paying attention.
Yeah, you're just incredibly dumb, and you're not paying attention or not even trying. That the same thing, exactly.
If a bank gets robbed because I tell it it's getting robbed on the 28th, and they're not ready for me on the 28th, then that's the bank's. I'm not excusing the bank robber, but it's the bank's fault you got robbed.
No, you just said. You just absolutely said. By the way, that game is final. I mentioned that high school. That's a note for those of you who are watching nationally. The Texas high school playoffs are entering round 3. And Andrews and Springtown were supposed to play Friday. They had the bus wreck. The band director, was killed in that wreck. Springtown beat Andrews 43-33. I can't even imagine the emotions. And they were winning that game for most of the way, but they've been knocked out. Springtown will now move into the next round of the playoffs. When we come back, 5 o'clock hour, you got anything else?
Yeah, can we talk about Texas losing 6 straight football games? Dear God, we're 2 hours into the show. We hadn't mentioned it one time. Texas lost 6 straight football games.
The chat room has mentioned it.
Yeah, that and more coming up in this final hour, I hope.
Well, David Hellman's going to join us at 5. Go ahead. He can wait a little bit.
No, I mean
they're 4-7 now. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Can't go to a bowl game. Can possibly lose 7 straight to close out the year. Bijan Robinson announced he's coming back this year. Why that was a question, I don't know. I guess there was so much worry about the transfer portal, but he's not eligible to go to the NFL. So his only option was, I guess his big question was, am I staying or leaving Texas? That kind of tells you all you need to know about their situation, quite frankly, is that he's not eligible for the NFL, and he's making a choice after his sophomore year of whether or not to stay there. Well, that says a lot. And their quarterback situation, still a mess. Their defense, still a mess. There's going to be a very interesting offseason upcoming, but, man, if they lose 7 straight to close out the year, and based on watching K-State should win that football game. K-State should win that football game.
It's going to be a battle of who's going to play quarterback because Card and Thompson went out against West Virginia, and then we know Skylar Thompson had a bad injury, not sure exactly what it is, against Baylor as well.
Yeah, Thompson doesn't look like he's going to be able to play. I mean, I would be shocked based on how he was being helped off the field, and that was a sad note. Senior day, his sixth year coming to a close. He's been there forever, and to have to be helped off the field, that was kind of brutal to watch. But, I mean, Jaron Lewis comes in and very first play throws a game-sealing interception. That didn't inspire a whole lot of confidence, and it's going to be either him or Howard, and I don't know which way they'll go. I definitely don't think Thompson will be available, but maybe a miracle's in store for the Wildcats. But without him, it does make it far more of a wild card. With Thompson back there, I'd say K-State wins that game, no doubt. So Texas does have a chance to at least win one on the way out. I don't know how much really that would help the feelings around Austin right now, but it'd certainly be a better feeling than going 0-7 to close out the year, which is what they're in danger of doing. And, you know, I'm just very curious to see what Sarkisian does as soon as that final whistle blows on Saturday because, there's a lot of work to be done there.
Yeah, you look at the Blue Bloods, or at least used to be, and some of them more recently than others, that are all down. USC, LSU, although just 2 years ago they won the national title. Florida State, although they've gotten hot and maybe they get to a bowl game. That Florida and Florida State are playing for a bowl game, right?
Yeah, for bowl eligibility.
5 and 6. Nebraska. You look at some of the teams that have brand names, at least used to. Some of the kids growing up who are being recruited don't even know who they are in some cases. When we come back, David Hellman. This is from Joseph Hoyt, covers Dallas Morning News, covers college football. 247 Sports reporting that TCU zero in on Sonny Dykes. We mentioned that to start the show. Source with knowledge of the situation cautions that the wording of that is a little strong, but it appears, as I said at the start of the show, that is all but imminent. And that's one more change in college football. Then SMU opens up.
Yeah, there just seems to be a ton of smoke there for him to not be the guy. I mean, even though he hasn't said anything, just the way SMU's playing shows that he's probably the guy in Fort Worth.
He's hardly addressed it at all, which leads you to believe that it's totally happening.
Yeah, it's totally happening. I mean, all signs point to it's happening from the reports to their play, and especially this past weekend against Cincy. But, that's good hire, I guess. Interesting hire. I know there's TCU fans that are torn on the possibility of Dykes being the guy, but that certainly looks where we're headed. So that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. And could hell freeze over and Kaz Kazadi be a employee at TCU if this happens?
Wow, that would be true.
That would be weird.
Some question here: why doesn't Texas? Why didn't they go after Quinn Ewers? He was committed to them.
Yeah, he was,
and then committed to Ohio State. You wonder how that works out because of how great C.J. Stroud is playing. I think C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young separated themselves from most everybody over the weekend. Obviously, Walker didn't get to do much, if anything at all, for Michigan State. So that thing is down to 2 weeks left. You have this week coming up and then the championship week, and then the Heisman Trophy ballots are due.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of portal activity for Texas, for Texas Tech as well, and for probably a few others in the Big 12, but quarterbacks especially. I could see Tech going out and getting a guy. I could see Texas going out and getting a guy. I could see plenty of others going out, West Virginia going out and getting a guy. I mean, so on and so forth. So, yeah, I don't want the season to end, but I am very curious, not only Texas, but the entire Big 12, kind of how they shake things out and change their rosters with a lot of these coaching changes.
When we come back, it's David Hellman. Cowboys went to Kansas City. What I thought would be a 40-35 shootout ended up being 19-9. Cowboys defense played very well. In fact, kept them in the game. But the offense struggled. Injuries didn't help. But you know what? Everybody at this time of the year has injuries. Maybe the Cowboys are about to get healthy with DeMarcus Lawrence coming back for the game Thursday. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
BetUS.com, the 3-decade leader. And right now, we get the greatest time of the year for sports betting. Both footballs, college and NFL, both basketballs, college and the NBA, the NHL, golf, soccer, lots of stuff going on around the world, and BetUS.com has action on almost every sport around the world. So believe me, they've got your game. So go to BetUS.com right now. Use our promo codes, Sikkim125 for a 125% bonus on cash, or if you're all into technology and crypto, you can use Sikkim200 for a 200% bonus on crypto. That's Sikkim125 and Sikkim200 for BetUS.com.
At Allen Samuelson Waco, we're celebrating the Black Friday sales event. Ram, bringing the first truck brand to take the top spot overall in new vehicle initial quality by J.D. Power. With a new 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star, you can get total values up to $7,250 or 2.9% for 72 months, plus $2,000 in bonus cash. All first responders get an extra $500 and no payment for 90 days at Allen Samuelson Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy old world pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Prescott bowls out. Chiefs have it. Chris Jones on the return. Turnover here early by Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Cowboys in Kansas City last night for what ended up being a defensive struggle. Both teams had opportunities to put more points on the board. I thought the Cowboys, when they had the strip sack on the run of Mahomes by Micah Parsons, which was an incredible play, maybe that was going to open the door. Didn't work. And they lose 19-9. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com. David, if I would have said that was the way that game was going to end up, would you have thought possibly 19-9 without the Cowboys scored a touchdown?
Not at all. I mean, maybe you start to have some concerns about the offense holding up when you realize that Tyron Smith and Amari Cooper are both going to miss the game. But no, I mean, it's the most explosive and efficient offense in the NFL with a guy who prior to yesterday had a really good stake on the MVP race. And no, just even with the injuries, even with everything working against, really did perform and crack 10 points.
David, one of the big things was the Cowboys swapped out Connors on the offensive line, Connor McGovern in, Connor Williams to the bench. What finally brought that change about?
Oh, I think, number one, the fact that Connor Williams is leading the NFL in penalties. I mean, 12 penalties. You're guaranteeing that you're going to give up 10 to 20 yards of field position every week. That's problematic. And then you think about the fact that Connor Williams is in a contract year, not playing super great. Connor McGovern has another year on his deal, so there's probably some big picture elements as well, while also wanting to, tail the penalties. The funny thing is, I mean, Connor McGovern wasn't great yesterday, but I was joking with somebody earlier. He, in a sense, kind of got bailed out because Chris Jones just mauled everybody. I mean, it's not like a case where the Cowboys were only as good as their weakest link. I mean, their entire offensive line really struggled to deal with that Chiefs front.
Yeah, do you see something that's different with Mahomes? He had 400 yards last week. It still seems like he now is more of a turnover guy than he was early on. Or were they just scoring so many points he was turning it over and I didn't realize it?
I think part of it is probably the expectations. And no, I don't think he was turning it over at this clip earlier in his career. I don't have his numbers in front of me, but I know the year he won MVP, he threw 50 touchdowns, and I don't think he had more than 10 or 12 picks that entire season. I'd have to go back and look. But I think part of it is the expectations, because we've seen him so great for so long, and you just kind of take it for granted that that's always going to happen. And it's easy to forget that. And if everybody in the NFL gets paid a lot of money to do this, so people are going to figure out what your weaknesses are and exploit them. And then to some degree, he's probably a victim of his own success because it was so easy for him for so long that maybe he's got a false sense of confidence of what he's capable of. It's not even false. I mean, he absolutely is capable of doing it. But I think teams are making it a little bit harder on him than they used to.
David, this week, obviously, Amari Cooper not going to be back because he's got to be out, 10 days, right, from tests to at least 10 days, and I guess we'll see about New Orleans. Is there any positive feeling about Tyron Smith? And I know that they did get some potential good news on DeMarcus Lawrence, but that's also looking like a next week thing too, right?
Yeah. So DeMarcus Lawrence is going to practice this week. He's not going to play against the Raiders. So maybe New Orleans will have to keep an eye. Tyron Smith, I gotta think he's got a good chance because I thought he was going to play against the Chiefs. And I know the Cowboys took that decision as long as they could. I think there was an element of, do we want to bring him back only to rush him into a short week? Maybe that's not the best idea. So if he plays against the Raiders, he gets a full week of recovery before he plays the Saints. I don't want to say for sure that he plays, but I think it's a good chance for Tyron. And then CeeDee Lamb is the X factor. I mean, we're hearing a lot of optimism from the Cowboys on Monday. Mike McCarthy just said he was in all the meetings today. Stephen Jones said they're feeling optimistic. So, concussions are obviously different than tweaks or strains or whatever. I mean, if you don't clear the protocol, you don't clear the protocol. So we'll just have to wait and see. But in terms of, I don't even know how you classify concussions, but it doesn't sound like it was as bad as it could have been.
David, the Cowboys are no strangers to the quick Thanksgiving turnaround or playing on Thanksgiving Day, but what's it like to just observing a team having to turn around so quickly and get ready for another game in the NFL?
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking about this with somebody earlier today. I mean, this is everybody's life in the NFL at this point. I mean, the NFL has made Thursday Night Football a league-wide thing, so everybody's got to deal with these weeks. But it's an interesting challenge for the Cowboys because of the Thanksgiving tradition. You're not, some teams get this out of the way week 3, and then they don't have to worry about it the rest of the year, or you get it out of the way week 6. As long as the Cowboys play on Thanksgiving, which I think they always will, and I think they should. I mean, I'm not dissing the Thanksgiving game, but you're always going to be doing this at a tough time of the year when the weather's getting cold and everybody's kind of banged up. And I mean, this is the crucial stretch of the season. So that's just a unique challenge for the Dallas Cowboys is, you're always going to be dealing with this kind of in the crunch time of the season, and I think that's definitely a unique perspective for this team. So, I mean, they didn't spend a whole lot of time on the Chiefs today. They basically spent their whole day game planning and getting ready for Las Vegas, which is not only is it what you have to do, but after a game like that, it's probably preferable for everybody involved.
Yeah, and, there have been times the way the schedule's been set up where the Cowboys will play a home game Sunday and then come back and be at home Thursday. This year, it is different. They're on the road, home, and then they go straight to the road Thursday against New Orleans. And sometimes they've even had like a Sunday game after Thanksgiving. But, yeah, this is interesting, especially when you drop the first one, the way this went down as far as the wear and tear. Are the Raiders, I mean, they're so up and down. I don't even know who they are.
Right now.
Yeah, they're down again. Who are they, David? Do you know?
They seem to be a schizophrenic team, which, I mean, how could they not be with everything that they've had to deal with this year? I mean, it feels like a lifetime ago that John Gruden got fired, obviously. That tragic story with Henry Ruggs. I mean, that feels like a lifetime ago, too, and I'm not even sure that happened a full month ago. And so, I haven't had a whole lot of time to look at the Raiders, but I know that they got their butts kicked yesterday as well. I was joking about this, though. I mean, I think the Raiders are coming off back-to-back losses, and so I'm sure everybody in Cowboy land is saying, like, oh, yeah, the Raiders are struggling. This is a chance for us to get right. But the Raiders can look at this and say, well, Dallas has lost 2 out of 3 to our division rivals who we've played well against at times. So this is pivotal for both teams. I don't think the Cowboys can probably weather it a little bit better than the Raiders can just because of what their division looks like as opposed to the AFC West, which looks absolutely stacked. But, yeah, I mean, these were 2 teams that were riding really high 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that's not the case for either one right now. So this is going to be huge for the Cowboys to get their minds right on a short week for sure.
David, I maybe I missed what you said, but is there anything on Zeke? I know he was limited today or whatever, but he was a little banged up yesterday.
It's the story within football that pertains to probably every player. I mean, Zeke's been. We talked to Zeke about his knee a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "I've been dealing with this since week 3, but y'all are only asking me about it today because I had to leave the game." I mean, these are the things you deal with when you play this sport at the professional level. We've talked a lot about Amari Cooper, all the things that he's dealt with this year between the hamstring and the ankle. I mean, he's going to play Thursday. It's not going to keep him out, and he was shooing the medical staff away yesterday. He knows he needs to be available, so it's not something that's going to threaten his availability. But yeah, I mean, going back to my point about the Thanksgiving week, I mean, by the time late November rolls around, these guys are beat up pretty good, and to have to play a short week at this stage of the season, it's a grind. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, I don't have any doubts that Zeke will cut through it to be available, though.
There was the when he got tangled up on the sideline on the play you were talking about, Paul. Most guys break their ankle on that play. That's kind of like one of those where the way they landed on his ankle and leg, that you could have seen that thing snap like a toothpick. He is made of rubber. He seems to be. There's a play on the sideline where he had a collision. He won that. Is he about as strong pound for pound as you could possibly be?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, we talk about like your athleticism in terms of your speed and power and all that, but like just the way some of these guys are built. I mean, it's not the exact same, but it reminds me of a play a few years ago. You can go look it up. Byron Jones got tangled on the sideline like that, and his whole knee was at like a 90-degree angle. I mean, it looked like he had severed every tendon in his leg, and he just sort of like slid it out from under him and jiggled it around, and he was good to go. Like, these guys are just they are genetically blessed. And yeah, I mean, Zeke has taken just as many carries as pretty much any back in the league over the time that he's been in it. And the fact that he's only missed one game due to injury. I mean, I get it. He hasn't always been amazing. He's had his ups and his downs, and I'm sure this thing is limiting him a little bit right now, but that is a very impressive amount of durability for the team that he takes every week.
Thank you, David. Appreciate your time. David Hellman.
Thanks, guys.
Short week for him, too. David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com.
Well,
Mondays around 5 o'clock, most every Monday.
Guess we know how irrelevant LSU is right now. We didn't even bring up A&M and LSU this week because in LSU, if they win, there's a bowl game for Edo in his final run, although I wouldn't pick them over the Aggies. But who knows? That game could be interesting. But,
that's A&M's rival now. I mean, so I mean, I don't think the door swings completely the other way with LSU, but it's pretty darn close. I mean, kind of in the Texas OU, Texas A&M thing, and that OU is the biggest one for Texas, but A&M wasn't far behind. So, All
right, I gotta discuss this. How in the living blank did the Texans beat the Titans?
I don't know. I watched the whole game, seeing as I live with a Titans fan, and it was pouring down rain. Ryan Tannehill played the worst game he's ever played.
Yeah.
And it was, the other thing was, coaches do this. I was kind of making this point on Charlie Brewer a little bit. But Mike Vrabel did it with Adrian Peterson yesterday. Look, AD is a Hall of Famer. First ballot, one of the best that's ever played this game. Should have won the Heisman Trophy as a freshman. All these things that you say about Adrian Peterson. He was... R.C. Slocum, once I heard it tell a story about he offered him a scholarship in the 7th grade because he saw him break a basketball dunking it, and he was in 7th grade. But he's 706 years. Yeah, but that was R.C. Slocum's coach speak story.
Yeah.
But he's 706 years old in football years now, and Deontay Foreman, who I know is a journeyman, was running way better. But they kept putting Peterson back in the game, and I'm like, man, you're losing. Put in Foreman. And they didn't.
Yeah, Vikings had a nice win against the Packers in a game that in the last 5 minutes it went back and forth. And, you give the old thing, don't give Rodgers more than a minute to play. Well, they gave him 4, he scored, and then Minnesota goes down and scores as well. There's some bizarre. The Ravens, who have had a nice year, they have really struggled lately to try to, they gutted one out yesterday. I still don't know how they won that game.
They didn't do anything all day until that last drive. Yeah. And the Bears, if you're Matt Nagy, and he's going to get fired. He's going to get fired at the end of the year, if not before. But if you're Matt Nagy, you've got to be like, man, we just give me one stop. Just one now against the backup quarterback. And they couldn't do it.
No, they can't. And the Cowboys, even though they're very comfortable where they are in the NFC East, you look up in Philadelphia has played what? They've won a couple in a row. Washington as well. They're not going to catch Dallas, but you burp or you sneeze, and next thing you know, you got 5 or 6 games, now 17-game schedule. You never know what might happen. Jalen Hurts ran for 3 touchdowns in that win for Philadelphia yesterday.
So did you feel bad about your football team beating up your buddy Matt Rule?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Good.
My teams are more important than that. But that was a very bad loss for Carolina.
It was.
You've loved them your whole life. You've only known him for like 6 years.
Yeah, maybe not even that long. Yeah,
I saw an article earlier today. It was talking about NFL coaches on the hot seat. Matt Nagy was like number 1 on that list. I mean, there's no doubt he's gone. But there was a mention of Rule towards the bottom of it as far as but I think he's got like a really, obviously, contractually a very good situation. But, they're in year 2, heading into year 3, and I know they've dealt with McCaffrey's injuries and things like that, but I hope they get it righted.
I think the best thing he's got going for him, he's got an owner in David Tepper who came out of the Steelers organization, and the reason the Steelers are so consistent is because they don't fire coaches after 2. Well, I mean, they don't fire coaches. They let a coach until the coach doesn't want to do it anymore, and. So if David Tepper follows that model, I think he'll be very successful. Whether he has to do that with Matt Rule, we don't know yet. But
they're 5-6. They play Miami and Atlanta next, back to back. And then you look up and the games against Buffalo and New Orleans. Maybe they're not. They have to play Tampa a couple more times.
Cam played well yesterday.
Huh?
Yeah. Cam played well.
Yeah, but you know what? He scored the touchdown, raced all the way to midfield, slammed the ball on the logo, and then peeled his jersey back. I understand.
And then lost.
And then lost. And that was a big moment. I'm happy for him that he's playing again back where he was. But that was a little bit, I got a feeling, and he will never admit this, but that was a little bit too much look at me for Matt Rule.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you do have to make that deal.
It was early in the game, and you scored a touchdown. But, and again, I'm not getting, old man, get off my lawn or anything. it was emotional for him because he was back playing at Carolina in front of those fans. He scored, but that was a little bit much. That's not a taunting call. I hate the taunting rule. I hate the fact what happened to the Kansas City Chiefs guy, or any of the taunting calls for the most part. That was a little bit much.
Here's what I thought bad for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because I thought he must have said something, but I guess they called it for him pointing, but he could have been pointing at anything. Yeah, he could have been pointing back at Patrick Mahomes.
Just a little bit much.
I'm with you, though. Like I just think that's Cam Newton, and that's who he is. And I think if anything rubbed Matt Rule the wrong way, and if I'm just obviously totally guessing here, it would be that it was more about one guy than it was about the team. But I think that's what you also know going into business with Cam Newton is this going to be about Cam Newton at some points, and so that shouldn't have come as any surprise. So if he doesn't like that type of jazz, and we're obviously not saying that, just speculating, but if he doesn't like it, then he knew full well going in that was probably going to come with the territory of re-signing Cam Newton to your football team. So, it's the situation that they're in, and he's got some work to do in there in Carolina. I'm rooting for him.
And the players in the locker room know. To be surprised that Cam was going to showboat a little bit would be like, oh, wow, that's a really fancy scarf you have there, Cam. Yeah. Is this a new thing?
By the way, a couple of women's basketball notes. Baylor lost to Maryland yesterday in a very competitive game, lost by 3 at Maryland. And I was thinking that because of the newness of trying to figure out who they are, even with a lot of great players like Nalissa Smith on the team, that could end up being one of those like 74-54 type wins. They lost by 3. And South Carolina, number 1 ranked team in the country today, beat UConn 73-57, outscored them, had like a 1 or 2 point lead entering the fourth quarter and dominated that game in women's basketball.
Yeah, I think Nikki Collin, they had a good showing, came up short, obviously, but I feel like a lot of people probably weren't expecting them to win that game, really. So I don't think that came as much of a surprise that they lost, even for hardcore Baylor women's basketball fans. I have to see a lot more, but I think Nikki Collin will get it all situated and sorted out, and Alyssa's great, and they'll be in the mix. I think that they'll be just fine.
I think that their depth is going to – again, Kim had a couple of teams that were down to 7, 8 players in rotation, but they would lose a game early, a good non-conference game on the road, Stanford or whoever, on occasion, and still have a big year. Texas lost to Tennessee. That would have been a nice win after their win against Stanford the week before. When we come back, Robert Allen covers Oklahoma State. They are right now just rolling right through the Big 12 since the loss to Iowa State, headed for Bedlam this week. They're already in the Big 12 championship game, and now who will they play? But they do play Oklahoma next, and Robert Allen is next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Look, the holidays are coming up. Look, it's Thanksgiving this week, and if you want to wow the people at your dinner with a fine selection of, say, craft beer or high-end whiskey, bourbon, Pinhook Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Bardstown, one of those. If you want to do that, Riverbend Liquor and Wine is the place you got to go. If they say, hey, we need you to bring a bottle of wine to dinner, and you don't really know what pairs with turkey and dressing, guess what? They do at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. And they'll give you great recommendations. They'll give you great customer service. And look, if you're in a hurry, the drive-through window, it goes really fast. And the customer service there, again, second to none. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Robert Allen at R. Allen Go Pokes on Twitter. Sideline reporter for Oklahoma State radio show Triple Play. He is with us, has been with us before. In fact, when they were at Boise State earlier in the year. Robert, thank you, with Paul Craig and David Smoak. My goodness, what a year it has been, and yet still possibly 3 games to go. Well, no, there are 3 games to go and maybe more. How much of a fun ride has this been for Oklahoma State?
Well, it's a sweet ride. It's like being on an e-ticket at Disneyland or Disney World. I mean, one of the reasons I do what I do and being sidelined on the radio network and getting the exposure to the team that Mike Gundy gives us. I mean, we're at least Dave Hunziker and I are at virtually every practice. I do my locker room show from the locker room. I mean, it's not a media room. It's not at halftime. I'm in the locker room. I mean, it's kind of, it's old school exposure. It's the way things used to be when coaches kind of trusted media. And for me to be around the kids like I am, that's why I do this. I mean, Malcolm Rodriguez has been a blast to be around, watch him grow up and be the kind of player that he is. I took a lot of delight the last couple of months with Spencer Sanders and talking to him in the locker room after the game with Texas Tech on Saturday night. And it was not a spectacular game, but it was just the kind of game that Spencer needed to have to, limit turnovers, play along with the stout defense. And he's learned those things. He doesn't put the pressure on himself anymore. He knows what it takes to win games, and he makes smart decisions. So I've had a lot of fun watching him grow up. So yeah, this has been a great season.
What did it say about Mike Gundy that he was able to reinvent the entire philosophy, his coaching philosophy this year? Because he was not a guy who was, not that he was ever down on defense, but the way that he was coaching before was wide open offense, go, go, go. And then he introspectively said, well, that's not how this team's going to win. Not only did he reinvent himself, but it worked.
No, and I think we may have talked about this a little bit when we did the interview from Boise. I think one of you guys asked me how have they morphed into being more of a defensive team, and this was a decision that he made with Jim Knowles when Jim came in from Duke a couple of years ago. He asked Mike. He said, "Hey, look, I'm looking at the scholarship breakdown. Can I get some more scholarships for defense?" And Mike thought at the time, okay, we're winning games, but we're not winning championships with this high-powered offense and a defense that's kind of like all the others in the Big 12, just gives up, is kind of a little bit of a sieve and occasionally gets stops or turnovers. And so he told Jim, yeah, let's do this. And what they've watched over the last 4 seasons is the defense gradually get deeper, the talent get a little bit better, and so now this is the product. The offense is not where it used to be. It's just not. I think Mike would love to be able to go up and down the field and score points like they did in 2017 and 18 and even 19. But he knows this equation right now, based on what's happened this season, this equation works. It's winning, and for the first time, he's got his team in the Big 12 championship game, and that was a big goal for a long time. So I think you have to look at the scholarship adjustment and the a little bit of more attention placed on defense as being a big win for Mike as a head coach.
Robert, what did you think of Malcolm Rodriguez not making the finalists for the Butkus Award?
I can't tell you. I mean, well, I guess I can. This is streamed, right?
Yeah.
You guys aren't applying practice and standards, are you?
No, we're not.
No, fire away, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, it sucks, and you know what? I did. I looked at the committee for the Butkus Award. 27 of the members on that committee work a job in the National Football League. Now, you tell me including Bill Belichick, he's one of the guys that helped select the winner of the Butkus Award. You're telling me Bill Belichick's paying attention to college football right now?
Yeah.
Give me a freaking break. I mean, it's screwed. Now, again, Malcolm Rodriguez, I don't think gives a damn. And good for the kid. He said today, social media, he put out, look, I understand a lot of people are mad about this, but this is about my family. This is about my teammates. And I'm more than happy to be doing what I'm doing and not get any kind of attention from, the Butkus Award. That's the other thing, too. I asked this today. Mike Gundy was asked at his news conference today, who's the all Big 12 quarterback? And he kind of goes and says, I don't know. And it's hard. I've looked at the numbers. There's about 4 or 5 guys, including your guy and Spencer Sanders. There's about 4 or 5 guys you could put in there and it'd be hard to argue. But at linebacker in this league, if the all Big 12 team comes out and Malcolm Rodriguez isn't on it, and I know you guys have got some defensive Petrie. If Petrie's not on the all Big 12 team,
yeah,
is that a travesty?
Yeah, no question. Yeah.
Same thing with Malcolm. I mean, and the sad thing is, I asked, who votes on this? I don't have a vote. I know the coaches have their team, and I get that. But on the team the media votes on, I was asking around, anybody have a vote? I don't know who votes on that crap.
You're talking about the all Big 12?
Yeah, Smoke, do you have a vote?
I preseason vote before Big 12 media days, and that's it.
Oh, yeah,
no.
I know. No, I have that too.
Yeah, not the other one.
I was the only person that voted for Caleb Williams for all Big 12 quarterback this summer. I checked that with Joni. I said, anybody else vote for Caleb Williams? She goes, no, you're the only one. I'm like, okay. Just wanted to make sure. I had a feeling there was going to be a change in Norman, but
if you could only use those psychic powers for something like else.
Yeah, like to make money.
Yeah. No question.
No, here's the deal. I'd like to know which media members get to vote on the all Big 12 team, because a lot of times I look at it and I'm like, what the heck are they watching?
Yeah.
And but you know what? The great thing is Malcolm is truly one of those kids that doesn't give a damn. I mean, there are some that do. That'll be hurt if they're not on it, but he's a guy, he doesn't care. He just wants to go play and win.
Robert Allen with us again, sideline reporter for Oklahoma State football on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Robert, does this seem like a different kind of feeling going into Bedlam for Oklahoma State versus, the last few years? I mean, I know there's been other years where they've had really good teams and have had a chance to win this game, but Oklahoma has kind of owned it. Is there a different feel with this team you expect walking into Bedlam this time around?
Yeah, for a couple of reasons. One, the thing that I've admired about this team the most all season is they don't get caught up. And I know this is easy to say. Coach said, don't listen to the noise. Don't pay attention to what people are saying. Don't let people talk you into being, thinking you're so good that you don't do the work. This team, even more than 2011, which was very mature. You had a 28-year-old quarterback leading that group in Brandon Whedon. This group has been even better. They truly don't care, don't listen, come to work every day, bust their tail in practice, and so that's reason number one. Reason number two is what we just talked about. The complexion of the team is so different, with it being defensive dominant, and the offense kind of says, "Okay, we'll play along with you guys, try and help you out, play field position, not turn the ball over." Not have any of those quick possessions where you guys barely get a sip of Gatorade and you got to go back out there. Those are all things the offense tries to do to help the defense. And then the third thing that is that Oklahoma State's favored. I mean, a lot of those years Oklahoma State hadn't been favored, so it's not just people inside that think, oh yeah, the Cowboys have got a chance to win. It's the people outside. It's the people that build casinos in the desert. It's, all those people now all of a sudden think Oklahoma State is the better team in this game. So, we'll see. I mean, you got to play it, and I'm not one of those. There are a lot of defeatist Oklahoma State fans. They almost get scared. My wife's one of them. She'll be scared all week. I hate it, but oh God, we got to play OU. And I'm like, hey. No, that's the attitude that gets you beat. Just go play. Go play and do what you do and see if you can't win the game. Don't worry about the jersey and the logo on the other side. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. And you know what? Here's another thing too. I don't know if Dave Aranda is. Baylor had a great plan, obviously, against OU, and I'm sure it's filmed that the OSU staff will study. I looked at it last night. That's another thing Mike does. We're on their film system, so we can go in and look at any of this stuff. I watched the Baylor game last night, and if Dave Aranda's smart, they put together a little bit of synopsis of their game plan and shipped it to Stillwater. Because I think the Bears have got a stake in this thing on Saturday night too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have to take care of their own business against Tech and then sit back and wait. And that's kind of like waiting for a watch party of whether you get in the tournament or not. But what do you think about how Baylor has finished? I know they had the very ugly just, wow, lost to TCU, and the next week Oklahoma State just crushed TCU. Your thoughts about where Baylor is, and especially a street fight game against Kansas State in Manhattan?
Yeah, I don't get, and we didn't get to see much of that, but I'll be honest. I thought going into that, I thought Oklahoma State was going to have a challenge in Lubbock, and because of the defense, it didn't really turn out that way. I thought Baylor was going to have a challenge in Manhattan because I've got a lot of respect for K-State and for that program, and I was impressed with Baylor. And again, the game I got to see the most of with Baylor was the OU game, and I was how can you not have watched that game and been extremely impressed with Baylor. And then I saw Baylor in person when they were in Stillwater, and I thought, they've got a pretty good team there. I will say this about the matchup Saturday for Baylor. I don't know what Bohannon's situation is with the hamstring. And Texas Tech is good defensively, guys. I know their defensive coordinator, Keith Patterson, and, you can look at their numbers. They've only allowed 4 teams now to rush for over 90 yards. OSU got 188 and felt fortunate the other day. But they're playing pretty good defense. The thing is, I think Baylor's defense will be the key. I think, I know what we saw Donovan Smith do in his first start against, who was it? Iowa State. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Iowa State where Garibay got the 62-yard field goal. But I don't know that he's as good as he was that day against Iowa State. And I'm going to bet Baylor's defense does a better job, kind of like Oklahoma State did, of mixing him up. A year or two from now, when he's had more experience because of his physical abilities, Donovan Smith's going to be a good quarterback for the Red Raiders. But I don't think he's ready yet. My hope is that Baylor's offense will be up to the task because honestly, I hope Oklahoma State wins Saturday night, and I would love to. I've said this since OSU and Baylor played earlier in the year. I'd love for that to be the matchup at the end of the year.
Yeah, we would too. I think it's Baylor's not that their only loss because of TCU, but that's the one where they obviously that one hurt early in the year, and they'd like to have that one back. And it would be a great matchup. Robert, as far as Bedlam goes, I mean, you've talked about the defense and all that. Just what do you think of Oklahoma right now? Caleb Williams and the offense show flashes, but at other times, like against Baylor, I mean, they had their mask completely ripped off. The defense is capable of creating some pressure, making some plays, and then at other times they're more like the defense from 2 or 3 years ago. So what are your thoughts on the challenge that Oklahoma poses to Oklahoma State heading into Saturday?
Well, let's start with their defense. I think the Sooners are very legitimate on the defensive front, especially on the defensive line. Their edge guys are really good. They're athletic. They're strong. They're going to do everything they can to put pressure on your quarterback. I don't think they have to blitz much with those guys up front. And whenever you can put pressure on a quarterback and not have to blitz much, that allows you to do a lot more on the back end of the defense. So that's a concern. OSU's offensive line is beat up. That's a concern in stopping those guys up front. I think the weakness is in the secondary. I know they've played a little bit better lately, and Turner Yell getting healthy again helps them. But I like Oklahoma State's opportunities on the outside in the passing game. You may have to pass to open up the run game, and you've got to be able to run to win this game. So that may be the direction Oklahoma State has to go. On the other side, I think you nailed it. Caleb Williams, when he played against Texas in the Cotton Bowl, Texas didn't know what to do with him. It was a huge comeback, big play after big play. But now there's a little bit of a book out on him. There's enough video and enough sample size out there that teams are discovering a little bit more how to deal with him, how to pressure him, how to make him uncomfortable. And like I said, Baylor gave you a roadmap. Their defense did a great job. Not good, great job on Oklahoma. And so hopefully Oklahoma State can do the same. I think the Cowboys have the components that they need to on defense to do a good job against OU. The other thing too boy, they've been so inconsistent with the running backs and running the football. And hopefully Oklahoma State, hopefully they can keep them from running the football. If you can keep them from running the football, make Williams one-dimensional, have to throw it, I think you got a real good chance to win the game.
Robert, enjoy the week. I know you will. And maybe we see you a week from Saturday at AT&T Stadium. We'll see. Oklahoma State's in it. Baylor needs help, but they also need to win their own game. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it as always.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Robert Allen, sideline reporter for Oklahoma State. Appreciate his feedback. And, yeah, I can see where there's a little bit of that, oh, my God, it's Oklahoma, just like, oh, my God, because of the history of that rivalry, because of the one-sided part of it. I can see that, but Oklahoma State, it appears, unless they blank the bed, is a better football team, and they don't want to get this game into early on where there's a lot of scoring, and I can't imagine anybody doing that with Oklahoma State anyway.
Yeah, Oklahoma's won 6 straight, 8 of the last 9, like 15 of the last, I mean, like they own this series, but this has a different feel to it than any of the other past years have had. I think Oklahoma State, everybody would say, is the better team, whereas that's not always been the case. I think their defense is so much better than it has been that with the questions about Caleb Williams, the questions about OU's running game, the questions about their O-line, Marvin Mims, is a player that people will shout out, but I mean, he's done really little to nothing this year outside of a couple of games.
Against Texas, had those big moments.
Big game against Texas, and then, really nothing else besides that, quite frankly. I'm very curious to see how Oklahoma goes. I mean, this is great. Lincoln Riley having a game plan for this terrific Jim Knowles defense and not having a Kyler Murray-led offense that's just stout across. I mean, he's going to have to get creative. He's going to have to find some ways to make it work. And so I'm fascinated by the chess matchup coming this weekend, and I'm taking the Cowboys. I don't see anything that's going to move me off of that either.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the big thing for the players is not to let the last 6 years beat you. I mean, or be a factor. Hey, it's really hard to do that and live in the now when you might have been a player who was on 3 of those teams.
Everybody in the Big 12, for the most part, has said, you know what? We don't care what Texas used to be, right? And that's what. And I know Oklahoma. They got that ability to rise up for a game like this, and you can get a little tight. But with the defense that Oklahoma State has, we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to that game. Looking forward to covering Baylor and Tech on Saturday at 11 o'clock.
I don't know what the case is for coaches. Obviously, Gundy's beaten Oklahoma a couple times before, but there's no player, unless there's like some super-duper senior I'm unaware of, like a 7th-year guy. There is no player on this Cowboys roster that's beaten Oklahoma. Whether they're 5th or 6th-year guys, they haven't beaten Oklahoma. So I think that would serve as just plenty of motivation. And look, they're the favorites for a reason. They deserve to be. But there are questions about that offense. I mean, they can be undone a little bit offensively, but if you can't score on them, it doesn't really matter if the offense is struggling.
When we come back, Paul Catalina wraps it up with Top 5, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that maybe you used to be. As you get older, testosterone level can drop. 1 out of every 3 men has symptomatic issues of low testosterone. What could that be? Sex drive, energy, sleep habits. Could be all 3, might just be 1, and you might not be 1 out of every 3 men, so you're pretty fortunate. But testosterone level can drop. So if you're a little bit worried about any of those symptoms that are happening to you, 1, 2, or 3 of them, contact Dr. Kent Petty and his staff. Go to pettycliniclowt.com online. There's a phone number and an email address, and tell them, hey, Smokey sent me. And then what they'll do is set you up to get your blood work. Dr. Petty will look at your lab results. And then if you have issues, if your testosterone levels are too low, he can put you in a program to raise them, to help you become the high-performance man that you once were, who you want to be, need to be, and used to be at pettycliniclowt.com.
Black Friday. It gets all the attention, but what about Truck Friday? Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and we say enough is enough. AirPods? Good luck storing your tools in those things. Get me a toolbox, please, for $50 off at Pickup Outfitters. And a bathrobe is not going to keep your golf clubs or fishing poles covered up in your bed. You need to give your wife some help and send her to Pickup Outfitters instead. We got a truckload of specials for Truck Friday. WeatherTech or Husky floor liners, $40 off when you purchase a set. Free plug in the bed with every gooseneck or fifth wheel install. Spray in bed liners with a lifetime warranty, $75 off. ARE camper shells or DCU units, $200 off. $150 off amp research power steps. Catskin leather kits, $100 off. A complete list of specials is in our showroom. Truck Friday is 8 days only from Friday, November 26th through Saturday, December 4th. Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. On the web at createacommotion.com/Truck Friday.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they'll release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now is the time to get your name on Richard Carr's first in-line priority list and get a car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to discuss cars and trucks in transit today. Go to richardcarr.com for more details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
By the way, Woodway location expanding. Champion Salon and Barber, just about done with that. I'm going to swing by there tomorrow and get a look at what it looks like. Top 5 Dan Mullen replacements. Dan Mullen, of course, fired yesterday at Florida, and Scott Strickland, the AD, said they want sustained, consistent success, which is not what they've had from Will Muschamp to Jim McElwain and now to
Let
Dan
me ask
Mullen.
you, if an AD didn't say that, would you fire him?
Yeah, true. But that's, the thing is that's the most, it's obvious, but that's what they haven't had, somebody who can sustain it. And, you think, what's going on? Well, nobody's had a consistent plan. And Will Muschamp recruited well there. He just didn't coach well there overall. Number 5, Jeff Brom from Purdue. Yeah, I said it, Jack. Jeff Brom. He's one in the Big Ten. He's recruiting pretty well to Purdue. He gets playmakers there. He's an offensive-minded coach, and that's what you want. I think what Florida fans really want to see is the old ball coach in the most close fashion. I think Jeff Brom can be very close to what Spurrier was there as far as philosophy. I don't know about success. That's really hard. Steve Spurrier was the most successful coach in Florida history until Urban Meyer came along and won 2 national championships just like that.
Yeah, he'll air it out, and he's been able to do that with Purdue. And, of course, they have academic standards there that are high, and I'm not saying Florida does too, but yeah, he's kind of gone under the radar the last couple of years, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have had a good year this year, but prior to that, not so great. I mean, they've made 3 bowl games in his time there now out of the 5 years. But yeah, last year, which is, chalk it up to a COVID year, is 2-4. So, I mean, kind of throw that one away, but 4-8 the year prior to that. But yeah, he's a good coach, been around a long time. Offense can score some points, like you said. I don't think you got him at 5, so it's not like he's super high on this list or anything.
And you know what? This was suggested to me by a friend of mine who used to write for the Gator, or about the Gators.
26 and 29 at Purdue.
Yeah. Number 4, Todd Monken at Georgia. He's been a head coach before. He's an offensive coordinator. Now, granted, Georgia's offense is not as high-flying as you'd want, but you would be able to maybe look behind the curtain of what your number 1 chief rival in the SEC East is doing. And I would say Dan Lanning here, but I don't think that Gator fans want a defensive-minded head coach. So I think they want an offensive-minded head coach. I think that's what the administration wants. I think that's what Scott Strickland wants. So I'm going to say Todd Monken here. And again, you've got a guy who's recruiting really well at Georgia, who's kind of making your life hell, and you can go and jump up and hurt your rival.
Yeah, I mean, I would never want to hire a guy to hurt my rival, but yeah, if that was an unintentional consequence, then that's good too. I mean, he's not the coordinator from Georgia I would want, but you made your point about why it would be him versus Dan Lambert. I think Dan Lambert definitely the bigger commodity right now, but if you want to go offense, then yeah, Todd Monken makes sense, although not the year that I would really be inspired by Georgia's offense. No. They don't even know who their quarterback is half the time. But yeah, I mean, a guy with some skins on the wall and SEC experience and offensive ties, as you said.
Was, according to Richard McKinney, and I guess once he brought this up, was the offensive coordinator at one point at Oklahoma State.
Yep.
Monken.
Yeah, I remember that.
Number 3, Mario Cristobal. This would absolutely gut Miami if this happened, if he went to Florida. But if you're Mario Cristobal and you want to take a job in Florida, look, Florida State's not going to be open. Miami, you don't know about. Plus, there's a whole lot more going on at Miami than just the football coach can fix, and there's no AD there right now. Or you can go to Florida, an SEC school that will absolutely money whip the crap out of you. They're building new facilities. They're doing all those things. Plus, they have a better history than the job you're at right now in Oregon. I mean, Florida's got a great history. You know Florida. You're a Miami guy. This, to me, would be a fantastic slam dunk of a hire. I don't know if this is where they wear their heads at right now, but Mario Cristobal is one of the ones the fans will certainly want.
Man, where would he go if it wasn't Alabama or Florida? Are there many options where he would go to leave Oregon?
I mean, USC to me still kind of sticks out there, but I mean, there's not. I mean, but it's going to have to be that if you're at Oregon. Number 2, Lane Kiffin, big time offense in the SEC, winning at a program that you consider to be less than you, and believe me, Florida fans consider Ole Miss to be less than them, and historically they're right, but it's not necessarily that right now, but. Lane Kiffin loved living in Florida from all reports. He wears a visor because he's a Steve Spurrier fanatic. And believe me, just personally, for the rivalry, seeing him go back there and having nice guy Mike Norvell, who I think is a nice guy, and sarcastic shoot from the hip, I'll say what I want to, Lane Kiffin. I would love it. I miss that Spurrier-Bowden thing. I want it back. Lane Kiffin can give it to me.
Yeah, I mean, he would definitely fire up the troops. There's no doubt about that, and create a little more chaos in the Eastern Division. I wonder how much he plays with other jobs just to raise his own profile and then therefore able to raise the profile of Ole Miss. If he's doing that intentionally, I think it's a brilliant idea to have your name in all these jobs and then, no, I'm at Ole Miss. This is a better job. I think if you play it that way, it's pretty smart, but it does get kind of tiring. I think if you're a Kiffin fan of seeing him always in the rumor mill for a coaching job that opens up no matter where he is. But, yeah, I mean, he'd certainly be a splash. Wouldn't be a big departure from what he's doing right now, quite frankly. I mean, as far as being in the league already, he already kind of knows the lay of the land. So, yeah, that'd be interesting.
By the way, I know we're going to get to one, but remember Robert Allen asked about the All Big 12 voting and who votes? I just got this back from Joni. Coaches only. There is no media postseason Big 12, all Big 12 team. Okay, sorry about that.
The AP one, but but not from the official Big 12. All right, number 1, Billy Napier. And if you believe reports, this is the guy they're on planes going to see right now, the flight tracker. Although Scott Strickland said he'll never use the private plane to go on a coaching search again because people follow it around and he doesn't want to know. He flew JetBlue to go hire Dan Mullen. So I saw a story somewhere from somebody on Twitter about how Florida, the last time they had a coaching search, flew regular flight out of Gainesville or wherever, and then found a charter or a jet, so like in Ocala. Well, yeah, they found, and then the only reason is the guy recognized, there's the Florida AD in Ocala. So they're not too far away. It's only 30 minutes. So
yeah, Napier kind of seems like he's probably the favorite for the job just based on all the speculation. I mean, I don't know what LSU's interested in him either. I see a lot of names thrown around, like Dave Aranda's just now going to be thrown around for whatever job opens up. I don't really see a threat for Florida in him. I don't know how high he would be up on their list, but Napier makes a ton of sense. Mark Stoops is an interesting name that's been thrown around quite a bit. Potentially making the move from Kentucky. Obviously, the Stoops family has some history at Florida. That'd be interesting. So, yeah, I mean, there's 5 solid candidates, and there's others, Clausen and Stoops and whoever else. So, yeah, that Florida job. All these jobs that are open up, what's really interesting about them is there's no surefire next guy that's been in waiting, like when Texas hired Tom Herman or
Mullen in Florida was kind of obvious.
Well, he was at the time, but now this cycle there's no obvious replacements for any of these jobs, and they're big jobs. It's interesting.
Everyone's been fired.
Exactly.
People are so damn impatient about winning immediately, and I understand all that. All right, for Jack McKenzie, Armstrong Sims, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak, all of you. Those who called the text line as well, thank you. Sometimes even into the evening, I'll keep checking that text line on things you watch when a replay or something that comes up on your mind, suggestions of a guest. And also, thanks to those in the chat room as well. Good night. This is David Smoak on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a